here. Hello, we're live. Where did Jude go?
Let me hear it.
All right, he can hear me. All right. All right, so it's kind of funny. Jude, right now I have Lindsay on in my ear.
Oh, really?
I can hear him. So what he's telling everybody is really he's just putting on for a big show. It's he's just playing along.
Shimon, how you been, Cass?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
I got Lindsay he's still trying to figure it out. So he's having technical difficulties. We're not having technical difficulties because we keep it simple.
Man, all I've got is my I don't know, $22 USB camera that I got from Amazon and my computer.
There you go.
I can't have
Lindsay says he's jealous. I'm like the middleman right now. I get the middle with all the, like Lindsay talks. I say what he says, and then, he can hear you though. So I don't have to. It's like I'm almost like an interpreter.
Cool, man. What's up,
If
Lindsay?
only what people knew what he was saying right now. I was doing shadow puppets in the backstage. So
I just saw I don't know if it's considered a meme, but it was like a little post showing how to do your hands, to do an elephant, to do a dinosaur, to do it. I mean, all kinds of different animals. And I tried a couple of them and it kind of worked. So I was like, oh, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty funny because I hear you on echo, but it's not like a normal echo. Right now I have an earbud in for my I'm wearing a whatever, earbuds, wireless earbuds. And I got Lindsay in one ear, and then I got my headphones on so I can hear StreamYard, but I can hear both.
Well, I see we got, I was in the backstage area, but I failed to hit comments. But when I went to YouTube on my phone to see if I could see anything, I didn't see a stream, but we got a ton of comments.
Mainly it's Pat and I going back and forth.
I see you and Pat, but there's Don Gilliam's in there. What's up, Don? Pat, of course. What's up, Lindsay? Jonathan Sherwood. That's it. There's a ton of comments.
Yeah.
Quick Ranch, Tour Junkies in here. What's up, Quick Ranch? Oh, I had to put an alternator in my CRV today.
Yeah, those can be kind of fun.
Yeah, easy access, but I mean, I'm a big dude that's a low car, and I'm bending over and scratching. I'm sure you're 4 inches taller than me, so I know you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. One day when we meet in person, you'll see my hands. You'll be like, man, those are not small. You're like, holy shit. Yeah, it's fun stuff here. Yeah, so we're gonna hang in here for a little while. Jude and I are gonna run the stream until Lindsay shows up, and whoever shows up and wants to hit us up in the chat, get any questions, hit us up in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. Jude and I will entertain you the best we can.
Yeah,
Jules is here. What's up, Mark?
Anyone who I know it's a channel that we haven't been running real well, but I've been putting a little bit of effort into it lately. There's a couple of videos. Miguel Martinez at the beginning of the month put a video up. He was working on a 7.3. I think he was facing a battery cable and an AC compressor. Miguel's going to make some videos for the channel. I'm trying to convince him to do the channel. I told him if he does the videos in Spanish, I will take the time. I'll take the time.
Double viewers.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. And I'll take the time because I know there's a way when you upload the videos that you can make it so it does the subtitles in English. Mm-hmm. I'll do that. So, and I think that would totally double our viewership. Really would really help us out. I got I should have shown myself actually working on it, but I just showed a video of myself with the Mini Cooper that I worked on. I may do some footage of it. I think I took it out Monday, and my buddy picked it up on Monday, and then Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember, but I went to his machine shop, and that's when I showed those pictures of that piston that was cooked.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking he's going to deliver it back to us Monday morning. So I'm hoping to start depending on what time we get the engine back on Monday, I'll start putting it in either late Monday or Tuesday morning. And I think I'll do some footage on that a little bit anyways, showing some of the ins and outs. It's not that bad. I mean, once you take out the front clip and the radiator, the tires, you just pull out the axles and on the bottom, the mount for the axle, once you take that off, the motor's literally swinging like a swing in there from the upper mounts.
Yeah, I've had to put a clutch in one before, and so basically you just pull the engine and transmission out, you pull the transmission off, and then you put it back together and pop it back in.
The one guy I was talking to was saying, because he works for BMW or for Mini, I don't know what the difference is, and he was saying that factory training was do the clutch in the car. And he's like, but dude, no, don't do no, I'll never do a clutch in the car again. But it's so much easier just to pull the engine. And he said he can get the engine out in less than an hour. It took me about 3. First one I ever touched, it took me about 3. And this dude
probably about the same. It probably took me about the same amount of time as it did you. Maybe a little longer. But yeah. Oh, we're hearing noise from Lindsay? Hold on a second. Nope. It's just dogs running around his house. That's right, Pat. It is like the UN. I have an interpreter in one ear and a microphone. And
Mid-Atlantic just showed up. What's up, Mark? How you doing? And earlier I was looking at some of the comments. There it goes. Pat said that I'm only here for the full frontal nudity. Oh man,
it's good stuff.
Hey, have you been going through my phone? Oh, that's funny.
Hit us up with questions. If anybody has any questions, ask us anything.
Yeah, now that we're live, I'm going to give us a view. How do I do that? There we go. And there we are. 5-6 thumbs up now, including mine. Everybody, come on, let's get this thing rolling. Let's get the comments
going. At least 11. We have to have like a real arbitrary number. 11 is a good number.
I agree.
Double plus 1.
What are you guys working on right now? You guys busy at the shop?
Yeah, because it's just Travis and I now. So,
oh yeah,
our staff deleted themselves.
It happens.
I started last year with 5 people. Now we're down to 2.
Yeah. And are you guys still as busy as you always were?
Oh yeah, they're just slammed.
So what are you pulling, like 12, 15-hour days right now?
Yeah, 12 right now. So
that's what they say.
Today was a short day. I left at like 6:30. I was like, I gotta go. I got stuff to do. Actually, it was 6:51, but who's counting? But
there's a question from Mid-Atlantic Soul says, why are we here? Now, are you talking like in the grand scheme of life? Like, you want some enlightenment? Want me to enlighten you? Or are you just talking about like, why are we on this live stream?
We're on this live stream because Lindsay invited us, and then he decided that his camera wasn't going to work, and so now he's trying to figure out what's going on. He called me for IT help, which if this I put IT help. If you call me for IT help, it's basically like if you see me running, you should run too because something bad is about to happen. So if Lindsay's calling me for IT help, it means shit has hit the fan. I'm the least tech savvy person alive. But we're here.
That's how I feel sometimes. And I mean, I'm not a dummy, so I can read prompts and work my way through stuff that I have to work through when it's necessary. But I'm also very lazy. And if I don't know how to do it, it bugs me trying to, well, at least when it comes to, like you said, tech stuff. In a vehicle I'm working, I don't care. If I got to take something off, if I got to fix something, I just take off what's in the way, put it back together the way I found it. That's always come natural.
Yeah. No, we're at the shop. We're staying busy. No, we got a lot of stuff. We just had this like massive hailstorm, so we have this opportunity. I think we're gonna do it. This is still like two people going back and forth all the time, but we're gonna start doing the ADAS calibrations.
Okay.
Because anytime so the way it works with insurance companies, I just found all this stuff out this week. I must speak like I'm an expert, but I'm a yeoman on this stuff. But my son's talking shit to me, by the way. But anyways, so we have other questions. We'll get to the ADA story here in a little bit. All right, what does Chris Chambers have to say here? Have you guys used the Grip Edge Mac extractors? Are they worthwhile? I have.
Can you hear me?
Can we hang up the phone now?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
I was going for a while. Yesterday I was all stoked. I'm like, what happened? Now we can hear you fine.
The one thing I hate about troubleshooting any kind of technological issue is it's usually just, click. You just got to find one, and then, all the problems go away.
My thing is always shut it off and restart it.
Oh, I've done that.
See if that works.
No, in fact, Cass, your technical savvy is greater than even you realize. Because when you told me to check the app permissions, I did that for the camera. I didn't do it for the microphone. Yet for some reason, when I enabled them, so they were disabled for the microphone. I enable them, camera comes on. These are two completely different devices. I don't know why.
She falls down a well. Her eyes go cross. She gets kicked by a mule. Eyes go straight. I don't know.
It's like that. Yeah. So I apologize to everybody for keeping it hanging, guys. Thank you so much for running with it. But I appreciate it.
What did I say? How did I say I would fix it if I was going to fix it?
I would do the same thing, but I've learned through years of my previous career that throwing things out windows is it feels very satisfying, but it doesn't usually solve the problem.
Let me answer Chris Chambers' question real quick. He asked us a question. I have the Mac RBRT. I have the Allen sockets or Allen sockets. I like them. They work good. I mainly got them because a lot of times on Ford transfer cases, people strip out the fill plug, and the 10 millimeter works the absolute best on there. So I do that, and then I have the small RBRT like bit set, and it works good for like bits that are a little wallered out. So
I've got the RBRT Torx, and I've got the Grip Edge Allens, and I think they're the same. I think I don't know. I'm pretty sure the same company maker or the same manufacturer makes them. But yeah, I like this. I like them a lot. And I just saw a video today on Kuhn Trucking. I guess Matco has their version now, and it's like labeled and stamped Mac. But I like them a lot. And like Cass said, I don't just use them for extractions. I just use it also to prevent rounding fasteners as well. I use them.
I tell you what, the fill plug on a transfer case, everybody thinks that thing, they should torque it as absolutely tight as they can.
Yeah, they try to do pull-ups and stuff on it, huh?
Yeah. And really what happens is it's a tapered plug. So what it does is it expands the metal, but that plug gets stuck in there, and it can be the hardest thing to take out. So, all right. And Fremont House says, are the Hercules half-inch impacts any good? I don't know. Never used one. Couldn't tell you. Jude, do you have any experience with the Hercules?
No, not really. I've never used any of the power tools or from Harbor Freight, except for I don't know if it's considered a power tool, but it's a heat gun. I've refused to buy heat guns from anywhere but Harbor Freight because things last forever. You know, the only reason I broke the first one I got was because I dropped it off a ladder. You know, I had it for like 10 years, and the one I replaced it with, I've had it for like 12 years now.
The one thing that I have found about
I just flipped out.
The one thing I found about some tools from Harbor Freight is it can be really hit and miss. You can find really good stuff that's just been branded for Harbor Freight's brand, whatever that is, like their Chief Air Hammer. Torque Test Channel did a comparison between the Chief and the Mac. They're the same exact hammer. They're made in the same factory.
Yeah.
One's just branded Chief, one's branded Mac. So I don't know who makes the Hercules. They may very well be a perfectly reputable company that makes them, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with them myself.
Look, this is how I look at it. If it's your money, you can spend it how you want.
Oh, yeah. So. And depending on the kind of use you're going to get out of it, it may be perfectly worth it. It may not be. Depends on, do you take it out and use it once in the breaks, or, if you're going to use it occasionally and it always works for you, then it's fine.
Yeah. But what may not be for me might be for you. We don't know.
Yeah.
Pat Paulson had a question, but unfortunately, Jaime Escalante is not on the panel, so we're not going to be solving for why. Calculus.
20 questions. How many of us lived through the whole decade of the 80s?
Yes.
That was a cool decade for a lot of reasons. We had good music then. Good music, good movies.
Yeah, good music, good movies. I love watching the 80s movies with my son because I'll pick a movie that I saw that I just thought was cool, and I'm like, oh, come on, let's check this one out. And then I'm laughing, but not the way I did when I first saw it because I know it's coming. But to see him laughing the way I know I laughed, like when I first saw it, when I first showed him the Three Amigos, oh man, when they shot the Invisible Swordsman, oh, I remember laughing the way he laughed. And when he was laughing right there, I was like, oh, I remember that laughing. It's so cool watching.
Oh, man. What's your favorite line from the Three Amigos?
My favorite line from the Three Amigos is probably when the dude who looks just like Miguel Martinez says, yeah, beer. Tequila's kind of like beer. But you know the Miguel Martinez? I told him that the bartender, when they walk into that cantina, man, looks just like Miguel Martinez. Because of tequila's like beer.
I can't top that. We're just going to have to let that one go right there.
Easy Tech Show. What's up, man? How are you?
Thanks for stopping in, man. Good to see you. Let her rip with any questions you got. We're probably going to start hitting on a few topics here soon. I apologize for getting started late because I was having some camera troubles, but we're rolling now.
Yeah, Lindsay was just making onion rings.
We were talking about bringing up a few topics, and
I was supposed to get back to you. I never did. I apologize.
That's all right. We were going back and forth about some stuff that's either been in the news, like electric vehicles, which have been making a lot of news lately. But then I remember he mentioned it's got to be 6 months ago, maybe more. He talked about doing a live stream where we discussed things like running a shop and billing in your profit margins and what you charge for work and how you scope out jobs. And I thought that one might be a little more universal to everyone who's here tonight. Maybe we can dive into EVs at some other time. But I thought that everyone here has either works professionally, or certainly has had work done by a professional. And there may be all kinds of questions surrounding how shops price their jobs, how they gauge the job itself, how do they spec it out, what makes one shop better than another, things like that. Because so Jude Cass are both professionals in the industry, so they're good authorities on that. And certainly there's guys in the chat who know a lot about that stuff too. So let's start the discussion with something simple like, when a job comes into a shop, I assume the shop has a service writer or somebody who can size that up. What's the criteria that they look at for sizing up a job, and what makes one type of service writer better than another? Because you do hear horror stories about guys that try to sell everything and the kitchen sink to a customer, and there's other guys who say, well, here's what you need, but here's what we recommend, that kind of thing. So what kinds of things determine that approach?
All right. We need to back up just a tiny bit on this. So what makes a good service writer better than a bad service writer is the type of questions they ask. So knowing what question to ask the customer is probably one of the most important things that you need to relay to the tech, right? Because what you're the filter between the customer and the technician. Anybody that's ever seen Office Space, you see what I'm saying? But so how well that information is relayed. So the customer's going to speak to the service writer or the secretary or whoever, and that person needs to be able to relay what the customer says to the technician, and then the technician can go and you want to check it out, right? Like, so say you bring it in brakes. Customer goes, my car's making a funny noise when it brakes. Okay, what noise is it making? Can you explain it to me? We go on a test drive together. Can you point out exactly what noise it's making? Like, okay, when I hit my brakes, it makes this noise. Well, really, the whole car is shaking. It's not making a noise.
Yeah.
The rotors are not true anymore, not smooth. I don't want to say they're warped because I have a whole theory on that, but that's the difference, right? Like knowing what to do. So service writer that doesn't know or doesn't care, they're just going to say like, check brakes, check for noise. And then you're sitting there, you waste a bunch of time driving it. And you're like, what is going on here? And then what it turns out to be is, the only problem was with the brakes originally. So a good service writer to differentiate, and make it a lot easier on you as the technician going and checking things out.
Yeah, just car cuts out is one thing, but car cuts out when coming to a stop at, or even like if you're makes a squeal, but they tell you like, was it when you're going straight? Is it when you're turning? Is it, they ask the right questions to give you some directions. That way you're not just going in blind with the vehicle. Because eventually you could probably figure something out about what the customer's talking about, but it's nice to have that direction to know exactly where to start so you're not wasting time.
So once the service writer sizes up the job, that's not always the end of the estimate for the customer, right? Because something could be discovered, and you have to get back to the customer, and there's a conversation that goes back and forth. Once he gets that job?
They're going to issue the customer like a general estimate, like, oh, well, it could be this. But a lot of times what we do, we won't even do that. We have to check it out first. We go and we check it out, and then you go and you find the parts, and then you call the customer and you say, this is what's going to be, find anything else. And then while you're doing that, you're trying to find anything in that area that you're working, right? Like, so back to the brakes. Say you're working on brakes and you see it's got like a cracked brake hose, and it's got like a cracked CV boot, and it's got like a bald tire, and like anything in that area where you're working, you need to report that back to the service writer. And then they, not necessarily to upsell a customer or anything, but you damn sure don't want the Century repairs, because Century repairs are worse. That's like bad advertising, right? I mean, let's just say like, we do shitty work here. You want to, because they have that, since you worked on it, now it does this. Like, oh, well, my tire was bald, you didn't tell me. So those are like things that whenever you see this stuff, you just have to relay this to the service writer, and a good service writer is going to relay this to the customer, right?
And
whether or not you're selling tires or anything else. What's that?
Right, that way it's documented. That way, because they come back and say, "Oh, you didn't tell me my tires were bald." You can say, "Well, no, actually, it is. It's on your multi-point inspection. We relayed that to you. You said you didn't want to buy tires."
Yeah, but it's just it's like CYA, right? So you're not just looking at one specific thing. You need to hit like what the area on the car you're working is, and but that's how you do it. But then you kind of formulate. So we have a software that we use that goes and like, it has like labor, but you, from experience, what, sometimes you have to change labor because labor is not going to be the same. Like it could be higher or lower, right? It just depends. Like Does it help you out?
Yeah, but to Easy Tech Joe's point, that he had to walk a new service writer through what kind of questions to ask that they need to know. So when you get a new service writer in a shop, for example, there's always going to be that adjustment period between the technicians and that writer to know what everyone's level of expertise is. And I do know one shop that hired a pretty young guy with zero experience, and they were going to groom him to become a service writer someday. But all the ones I've known have had previous experience turning wrenches in the field. Do you guys see a difference in the quality of how that shop is run based on the experiences that service writer has, and how learnable a skill is it?
You have to have experience in the field. You just can't. You don't necessarily have to turn wrenches, but you definitely have to have some experience, because, if I go to you and I go like, hey, it's doing this, this, and this, you need to relay this to the customer, kind of got to understand what I'm saying. Like, I go, hey, Lindsay, I need to resurface the rotors. I'm going to resurface the drums. I need to adjust the shoes. It's going to improve the quality of the brake, the feel of the brake. So say like a customer brings it in, they go, pedal vibrates whenever I'm stopping, but it also feels like it doesn't brake as well. So you go and you check the brakes, and the brakes have plenty of life left on them, but the rotors need to be resurfaced, and then the drums in the back, the adjustments real loose. So, that's where you're getting the feeling that the brake is not as forceful. All right. So I'm going to go and resurface both, tighten them up. I want to tell the service writer. Now the service writer needs to know, like, we're not charging for a full brake job. We're charging for resurfacing rotors and drums. Now, do you want us to take everything apart and clean all the hardware up, put it back together? Now we're charging labor for doing that. That's the difference. A lot of times you bring them in like, oh, the brakes are vibrating. But the way we do business with it on that is a little bit different than what I just explained. Kind of. I just muddled it right there, but does that help? Does that help? Basically, I'm using the brakes as a reference, right? I'm not.
It's a good point, because it brings to mind.
It's a relatable topic, because not everything I do is going to be what everybody else does.
Well, I service a brake and alignment shop. That's all they do. So I always get stories about how their week has been and the kind of customers they've had and the kind of jobs they've done. And one thing that always seems to crop up, and it's not just with their shop, but it's a lot of shops, is that you see a problem, you spec the job, and you work on that, and then the customer might come back to you later and say, hey, it has these problems. Now, that may not have been part of the original scope of work that you scoped out. So when you do that for a customer, you're going to tell the customer what you're doing. You also tell the customer what you won't be doing, so there isn't confusion later on.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, exactly like what Cass was saying earlier about the brakes. You're going to tell them you're going to resurface the rotors and drums, but you're not going to take it all apart and clean all the hardware. So you got to relay. The service writer has to be able to take the way a tech will talk to him and understand it and turn it into layman's terms for the customer so that they'll understand it. What they're going to do, what they're not going to do, what's recommended, what's most important. That they've got to be able to transfer all that information from. And I'm not saying that text talk, nobody's going to understand it, but sometimes we'll say something and it's just easier for a service writer to relay it than they would say it a lot better than I would say it.
Yeah, that is true. Jude brings up a great point. It also, like, you can't. I'll answer Easy Joe Tech's question here in a second, but I'll try to make this sound a little bit better. You really need to dumb it down when you talk to customers. I'm not trying to be rude, but I can't go and be real technical with somebody, because then it's going to go over the top of their head, or they're going to think it's something else, and you're going to overcomplicate things. I always just say, like, hey, this is what's causing this. This is what's causing this. This is what's causing this. This is what we need to do to fix it. I'm not going to, I'm going to show them the baby. I'm not going to tell them about the labor, right? Like, I need to, I don't want them to freak out about, like, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And if there's anything that overlaps or anything that's going to interfere, then that's when you bring that in as well. You don't want to go and call them more than once or contact them more than once. You want to kind of get that all at one time.
Very, very good. And that's on the tech as well, though, because we've got to tell the service writer everything that's wrong with it, because I worked as a service writer for a little bit, and one thing that I hated was calling the customer and then the tech coming back saying, "Oh, you got to tell them this too, or you got to tell them that too." And I'm like, dude, I'd rather make one phone call for $5,000 than make 10 phone calls for $500 a piece.
Yeah.
You know,
in a way I've done it in the past is I go and I have like the priorities chart, right? Like, this is red, this is yellow, this is green, right? Like, these are things that we need to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not trying to sell you everything. I'm telling you everything that's wrong with the car. You want to fix, you want to fix the most important things. This is what I feel like is the most important things. You have to start. You have to be able to stop is the number one thing. And then you have to be able to go safely. So like tires and brakes, those are like the two things that'll keep you from going and stopping. If you have a massive fuel leak, that's a red flag. If you have a massive oil leak, that's a red flag. If your AC doesn't cool as well, that might get it, into the, yellow check mark, unless it's August in Texas, and then you're going to want to get your AC fixed, right? But like, oh, the seat heater doesn't work right. Okay, well, we're not worried about that right now. Like, your car is leaking more oil than it holds. This is where we need to address the problem, not here. So it's just real important. And,
so when that list starts getting kind of long, I mean, someone drives in a car that they complain about one thing, and then as you're looking through it, you're seeing thing after thing after thing. Some of those stuff might be out of your area of expertise too, right? Because some shops are really specialized in certain things, like this brake and alignment shop that I told you about, or guys that just focus on European cars, or even just shops that just focus on like BMWs. So, and you also have people on staff with varying levels of expertise too. So what do you do when, say, a job comes in and the tech says, "I don't know, man. I don't know what the problem is," or "I think I know what it is, but I don't feel comfortable working on that because it's just out of my wheelhouse"?
Well, most shops will have a shop foreman that can do his own work, but he's also going to be able to help the tech that's struggling. I mean, he's paid a little bit more to do that. And he's usually got some really good diagnostic skills. And so when also, like you said, knowing the expertise or what the skill set of the techs that are in the shop, when some, who to give what, usually who can take on what. Now, when the shop foreman gets something that you just can't figure out, you need tech support or something like that. Well, then that's you just got to relay that to the customer that it's an intermittent concern that we're having a problem duplicating and pinpointing. But yeah, usually when something comes in, the service writer will know who can do what. Pretty much, low man on the totem pole is going to be. Obed's not watching, but he's going to be the fluid guy.
Yeah. This is where LeVar Ball would say, "Stay in your lane."
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Because that actually brings up a really interesting point. Because Cass, you were talking a bit earlier about doing ADAS stuff.
I'll wait till Lizzie's
in the shop. Well, Cass and I were speaking with a friend of ours who has a shop down the road from Cass. They do a lot of collision repair and stuff, and he was talking about doing some ADAS work, but they don't do it in-house either. So he said they're hiring a mobile guy to come in and do it. So that brought to mind my question of outsourcing stuff.
They're going to be hiring somebody else pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, so what do you do when you've got a problem, man, that's beyond everyone's capabilities? And shops do this all the time. Like, I know shops that don't do tires and wheels, but they'll take the car in, that they contact a tire shop down the street and do the tires for them or whatever, right? What do you do in something like reprogramming or ADAS, or maybe it's just a tough diagnostic that you just can't figure out? Because I know guys that just do diagnostic work. What's the approach to do something that is either out of your capabilities or something that you would normally outsource anyway?
Well, at the shop I'm at now, the shop I was at before was at now, we whenever something needed reprogramming, there was a guy in the area that we call, and he could reprogram or do updates to pretty much anything. So we would outsource that. He would come in, and the only time we brought someone in was like, we used to work on NPRs and like some medium duty vehicles, and we didn't have the software to do the diagnostics. So we'd call someone in to do the diagnostics. Right before I left, my old boss bought a scan tool, and I'm talking like we probably had it 2 or 3 weeks before I left. And I was actually excited. I didn't know I was leaving when I left, but I was kind of excited that he got that tool because it was going to allow me to learn and work on some of these. Like I said, I was a service writer, but any diesels that came in or anything that the guys had trouble diagnosing, that's when I would usually go out into the shop and I would help them diagnose stuff. So I was kind of excited to try to use that tool, but then I left the shop, so it didn't really matter. But yeah, we would bring people in and outsource work like that.
I don't know, Lindsay. If we find a problem like that, let me know, because I always get stuck with it somehow. It's like, well, you got to figure it out because you're the last one. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's like one of those deals like, oh, Cass is really good at doing his job. You know, we're gonna make him. It's like Cass is dumb enough to take it on. Let's see, he's the last choice here. Lindsay does that to me all the time. I'm like, nope, truck's not working. Here you go. Good luck. I'm like, well, thanks, but
I've got a friend that all he does is rebuild the rear ends, differentials, and he's got a box truck, he's got a toolbox, he's got lifts, he's got everything you could think of in that. And he goes shops, a lot of shops don't have guys that are capable of doing that. And he's busy all day long. He's got 3 guys working for him, 2 box trucks, 1 guy goes with him. And yeah, the dude's busy all the time, just rebuilding rear ends.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll use transmissions as a good example, right? I don't rebuild transmissions. I don't rebuild manual or standards. A lot of times we'll try to get it from the dealership if it's a transmission that you can get from the dealership. There's a guy that rebuilds manual transmissions in the area. There's also a bunch of people that do automatics, and we'll let the customer kind of pick who they want to use on that one. And we don't pull them out and if they're going to use like an aftermarket rebuilder that we don't work with, they just take it to them. That's the easiest way to do it. If that makes any sense. We have an aftermarket rebuilder that we use, but there's a lot that goes in. Okay, so the reason why we kind of do this is the liability that goes into it, because as much as I like some of the guys that are local that do it, the biggest problem is they don't have some of the tooling that, like, Jasper has, or whoever rebuilds, or Ford, and they can go and actually pressure check the transmission, fluid check it, actually run it on a bench. It's kind of like, does everybody remember back in the carburetor days, whenever you take your carburetor, a guy that had a flow bench, because he could go and make sure the carburetor is going to work with, like, especially when you're doing performance before you put it on the car. It's a real similar thing, right? Like putting the transmission on like a flow bench, basically, to make sure it works. But as far as like, knowing when to take problems on and when not to, a good service writer will help you out a lot on that too. Like when somebody goes like, oh, I have a 1999 Mercedes, ML 350, and it's got, every light on and every module on, and they're like, you need to find a European shop or somebody else, or, this is not something that we're going to take on, because on older European cars, you can run into a lot of problems, mainly sourcing parts. And so a good service writer is going to know that. They're going to know, like, man, this is going to be a real pain in the ass to do. So, but I have the best, right? Like, I don't have an experience, with bad ones. That, the guy, Travis and I, we work well together. We've worked together for a long time, and he's the best. So, at least I think so. Lindsay does too.
No, he's a great guy, and a lot of people love him for those reasons. You can't, and that attracts a lot of people into the shop because they know him and they like the work that you guys put out. So of course you're going to get repeat business that way, especially when people believe that they're getting a fair shake. And that actually is a good segue into talking about how you price out jobs, because there can be a wide disparity between shops, not only what they charge for the hourly rate, but also what they charge for the parts. Everyone has to mark up parts. That's a given. And everyone's going to charge a healthy hourly rate or they can't stay in business. How do you? What's that?
No, as a segue here. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, how do you price out your? A, how do you establish your hourly rate? B, how do you price out your jobs? And C, how do you price parts to ensure that there's enough profit built into every job that you're going to pay for itself, pay for the tech's time, and then pay for the staff?
You do realize I work on the cars. I don't collect the money, right? I mean, they just keep me in the back, right? You've seen where they keep me, right? Like I'm not allowed in the office.
You're in the unconditioned space, an unair conditioned space.
It's conditioned. It's just natural. If it's hot, it's hot. If it's cold, it's cold. If it's wet, it's wet. It's like the weather rock. Like if you want to know what the weather is, just call me. I'll tell you. Like, hey, what's the weather today? It's about 1,000 degrees. You're like, oh, okay, we'll stay inside. But, no. So
first up on the parts,
I want to hear what Jude has to say. Because this is a Text Talking Shop topic that never got made into a video. Jude's smiling right now because he's the one that he told me to do it. He's like, Cass, I need you to do this. And I'm like, okay. And then I got sick, and Lindsay can vouch for me. I was really sick. Well, Jude could too because you couldn't understand what I was saying. I sound like the Frogger, from the Frogger video game. You couldn't understand anything I was saying. I had no voice. But go ahead. I want to hear what Jude has to say first.
On parts markup, first off, the shop, because they have a relationship with the parts house, they buy a lot of parts, they're going to get a discount, so just say we're getting, 25% off. We don't, if we buy a part for $100, but the customer would walk in and get it for $140, we're not going to put it on for $100. We're going to sell it to them for $140 because we trusted without parts markup, shops wouldn't survive. There's no way. I don't think, anyways. And customers think like, oh, that's crazy. You're marking up the price. Well, no. Well, you know what? You can go buy your own parts and do your own repair, and you're going to pay me this. This is what I usually do when I'm working on a Ford. I give them my estimate and I give them my parts estimate, and I say you can call any Ford dealership in the country, because I like to put on at least on diesels, factory parts, OEM parts. And any OEM, any Ford dealership in the country is going to have the exact same price on parts. So they can call 6 or 7 or 10 of them. I don't care. My parts list added up to $2,000 for them, and they called all these dealerships. Yeah, it's $2,000. All right, cool. I'm paying $1,200. That's what my price is, because I buy a ton of parts from Ken Grody Ford. I'm there 4 times a week, getting parts for diesels, which are expensive. So there's a reason why I get a discount there. I don't have to pass that on. I need that discount to make a living. Plus, I'm going to get them, and I'm also the one that's warranting the work if the part fails. So it's very important that you cover your butt when it comes to parts. Go for it, guys.
All right. So you're spot on this. So Lindsay, this you're a little too broad on the question. So I guess the first question is like you asked, how do we decide what our labor rate is? That's kind of part one. The second question would be, how do you decide what the parts markup is going to be? And that's step 2. So let's go to step 2 first, because Jude he was just speaking on it. So the way it works is whenever you go, you establish a relationship with whatever parts store you're going to use, whether it's a dealership, a national parts chain like AutoZone or O'Reilly's or whatever, or you have a local auto parts store that we use, or you have a commercial only auto parts store like Worldpac, which we also use. And so you want to have access to all of these, because somebody's going to have something somewhere that you're going to need sometime. But the type of parts we use, like Jude uses a lot of dealership parts. We do the same thing. We use a lot of dealership parts. Just kind of got to know the needs of your customer. So if your customer is working on a limited budget and, this is all they can afford, you're going to have to, you have to play in, but most of the time you're not going to sell them a warranty out. But how you decide the markup is there's a pricing formula that you use, and not everything is priced exactly the same. You know what I mean? You hear me? Everybody's kind of blipping out on me.
No, you're
Am I back?
You're cutting it out a little bit on the audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. No.
I can't hear you. You can? Am I good?
Every now and then you
yes.
freeze up.
No.
You're back now.
Yes.
You're back.
No. The internet's shit here tonight. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But all right. So when you talk about markup, I'll just make it simple. Markup's not the same across the board. Not all parts are going to be marked up the same. Some you start at 20% and you can work your way up to 200%. Right? There's certain things that you're like, well, what would you mark up 200%? Oil drain plug. If it costs you $1 and it lists for $5, and you sell it for $3, do the math. Right? I mean, like it's pretty simple. But but the whole deal is a parts store will you'll get like a cost and a list, right? And then some parts stores have what's called jobber price, and jobber price is for the guy that's the working guy. And I can see Liz. You just got to blink more often so I can see your eyes. That way I know that I'm not blipping out.
No, you're good.
But so that's how you determine your parts markup, right? Like we're never going to exceed the list price on a part, but also our computers the software in our computers kind of built in. It can kind of determine when like what parts are we predetermine that. Like whenever we set up the account, you predetermine like electrical parts are going to be this, fluids are going to be this, engines and transmissions are going to be this, because you don't want to go and mark a transmission up or an engine up 100%, right? I promise you will not get the job, and the customer will go somewhere else. But you have to know how to mark stuff up, and it's real important that a shop has like it's a variable markup procedure. So, but the deal, like Jude says, is whenever he goes and he sells some Ford parts, what he's saying is you'll never go and pay more than what I'm charging you right now. And he's 100% right, because Ford usually gives you pretty standard like 20%, right? I think it's what Ford normally charges. So you can make 20% on the parts. And people are like, well, I don't pay markup. Well, if you don't pay markup, you don't buy anything, because everything is marked up. Because everybody relies on markup. Like Lindsay marks up the shit out of everything, right? He has to, otherwise he can't drive. I'm kidding.
No, it's true. Everybody who sells anything has to make a profit margin on top of whatever cost them. That's just the way business has to happen.
Yeah, if you buy something if you're the tools you're buying, if your truck is stocked up with $50,000 worth of tools and you sell it for $50,000, well then how are you going to pay your personal bills?
Right. In fact, yesterday
I'll ask Jude this question. This will kind of help out, right? To explain part markup. Jude, does your shop offer warranties on work?
Yes.
Okay. Who pays that warranty to the technician when they have to do it twice because of a parts failure?
The shop.
Does the shop get reimbursed 90% of the time from the parts manufacturer on labor?
No.
No. You can get labor claims. So when you buy stuff from Jasper, they sell like there's an additional deal you have to do. So if you have to make a labor claim, then the shop makes money on that. The dealerships will do it, but local auto parts stores kick rocks. They're not going to pay you labor on anything. They'll warranty out the part, but the shop has to pay the technician again to do the same job. Because you're like, okay, so we're working on a GM truck, right? And you're going to put a water pump on it, or you're going to use a Delco water pump, right? You use that Delco water pump. The water pump fails. It comes back. The store you bought it from is going to give you another water pump. The shop's going to have to pay for the coolant. They're going to pay the technician to do it again, right? You can't ask that guy to do it for free, right? He's going to make a living. That's the way it works. So if you offer a warranty, you have to mark up parts. There's also things without parts markup, you're not going to make any money. And this is a new one. I found out about recently is labor markup. You have shops that are marking labor up 30 to 40%. They go and they'll get a job, they'll price the job, and then they'll go and they'll add 40% to it. And so, I discovered that whenever I was negotiating with my former employee. When we were trying to decide his pay. He had gone and talked to some other shops, and he was like, "Well, that's the way they're doing it. I'm not going to tell you how to change I'm not going to ask you to change your business to compensate me for my needs." I'm like, I'm not going to. This is what we're going to offer you. This is the way we do business. If you don't like it, you can go somewhere else.
They were labor 40%.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like you charge per. I mean, you've got your hourly labor rate that you're charging to the customer. Let's say it's $120
Well,
$20,
here's an important thing about experience. Experience pays on this portion too, with a service writer and with a technician. So you have a software that you use. Like we use Mitchell One, right? And other people use other things, and that gives you your baseline, right? Sometimes the jobs are you can get this job done in the allotted amount of time, but you don't want to be it needs to be a little sweeter than hour for hour. You know what I mean? Jude knows what I'm talking about. This a technician's going to know what I'm speaking on. You don't want to just be hour for hour, because if you're hour for hour, you're never going to make any money, right?
Yeah, you're just making wait 8 hours a day. At your labor rate, you want to make at least. Since I've started, everyone used to my old mentor used to say you want to make minimum, an hour and a half for every hour worked. And I try to at least do that. If you have to be efficient, have the right tools, but yeah.
You do have to change labor occasionally on the software, right? Like you just go and you just change it. Like instead of it being 2 hours, you're going to make it 2.5 hours.
Oh, and yeah, absolutely.
Like I can't imagine what it's like in the Northeast, because you're like, okay, break job's 2 hours, but to deal with all the rust, it's 5 more hours.
Go watch Eric go, man.
Yeah. So you don't want to just be hour for hour. And here's the thing. This is what I've learned through business is don't be afraid to charge people for what you think that you should be making, right? It's kind of like don't ever be afraid to go ask an employer about like I should be making this. Like if they don't agree with you or you can't come to a compromise, then you just go find another job, right? It's simple as that. But don't ever feel bad, because you're not paying for how long it took me to do it. You're paying for my experience, right? If it's a 5-hour job, it takes me an hour to do it. I get it. It's because I've A, bought the tools to do it. B, I have the experience, and also Jude can answer, or he can agree with me on this, and so can Dave in the chat. Is you don't last forever doing this job. This is a really damn hard job on your body, and it wears you out. And like. This is the dumbest reference, but I always refer to this as like playing professional sports, because your body is destroyed as a professional athlete at the end of your career, except for you don't have all the money and you've been exposed to way more chemicals. So
yeah, that's true.
This thing is it's very hard on your body. I'm almost 30 years in, and I'm looking at the finish line. It's in sight. I can see it. And it's not something I want to end. I'm only 45, and I'm looking at it like I don't have that much time left on it, just because it's so hard on your body. So, but that's why you charge what you charge. I know I get off. It's real easy to get me off track.
But a lot of guys in the chat are making some good points too. And Quick Wrench said that a lot of shops look up the book time, say it's 10 hours, they'll bill for 14, for example. So it casts out like what you were talking about, is marking up the
yeah.
Well, yeah. So what they'll do is they'll take the book time, and I guarantee you. So I won't throw any names on this one, because there's probably some people watching that are going to dime me out, but I don't care. But but so the shops that are doing this, right? They're the same shop that's going in, and they're trying to sell you every service they can, because this is where you make money on these things, is when you sell all these extra services, like, you need the brake fluid flush, you need the coolant flush, you need the transmission flush, you need the rear ends and differentials all service, because they're going to charge you like a fee on these things. And do you need them? Do you really need them? Can you show me proof? Yes or no? Like there's plenty of times I've gone and checked differentials, at 100,000 miles, and like the fluid looks like brand new. Like I can't justify selling you all this crap. And they use this deal. This is the greatest term ever in automotive, based on mileage. Like based on mileage, you need to do this. Like you tell me you haven't had the what?
Oh,
you haven't heard that before. Yeah, based on mileage. Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. And so they're upselling you constantly, right? Like there's nothing wrong with upselling, but it's being honest about the upsell. And then
Jason Williams, Jason.
And then on top of that, then they're marking up the price after that. So they'll get all this stuff together, they'll mark all this up, and that's how they do it. And technicians like it because they're making, if you could make 16 hours with labor a day and you're only working 8, of course you would do that.
Sure.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
You should see some of the way I would write up, like if a truck I'm working on, I got it fully diagnosed, and being honest, if it didn't need something, like you said, I'm not going to recommend it, but I would, on the back of I wouldn't fill out the little section they give you on the bottom of the work order. I would flip that over on the back of the blank cardboard. Well, I'm dating myself, from back in the day when they used to have the cardboard pen and paper sheet. And I would fill the whole thing out, break it up by sections, by how many hours it was, add everything up, diag, my hour and a half for diag, my hour for the recalibration, whatever services I was going to do, plus the job I was going to do. And then I would let them know, but I was trying to let them know exactly what was wrong, but this was consequential damage to this, so that's why they're both being reviewed. I was very thorough on my explanations of what I was working on, man. So my hours would add up quick, man. But at the same time, I was working in a truck center, so it's not like I was trying to sell, person A or person B, $3,000, $4,000 worth of work on a vehicle. It was a person who was probably losing $5,000 every day that truck was in the shop. So when I worked in the truck center, man, back in 2008, 9, whatever, when everybody was hurting, I was in a truck center, and I was fortunate, man. I was killing it.
Well, that's an industry that never slows down anyway.
Crystal clear. Yeah, no. But does that make sense, Lizzie? Or
it does.
Did I help out any?
No, it makes perfect sense, and it provides that extra insight to things that, unless you're in the business, you don't know. And if you are in the business, it's always good to compare how you're doing something to how somebody else does something, because everyone's got a slightly different way of approaching it. The idea of knowing what the book time is on something versus how many hours you're going to charge based on that is something that, like you and Quick Wrench said, more shops are doing it now. You got to make the money where you can. And in fact, what you were mentioning earlier, Cass, about, charging just what your labor rate is really important, because that will put kind of an automatic filter on the kinds of customers you're going to get in. Right? If you have a labor rate of $90, guess who you're going to get in your shop? Guys who only want to pay $90 an hour. But if you say, hey, we're $150, well, those $90 an hour guys aren't going to show up at your door anymore. And hopefully you're going to get, I'll say a better type of customer with better cars and stuff that's better to work on, and stuff where, you're not going to, I don't have the money right now, and can you hang on to the car for a couple of weeks and never hear from them?
You want to? I could fill a book on this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So our labor rate is based on kind of like what the area labor rate is. We don't want to be the most expensive, but we're not the cheapest either. And then you got to know what you're billing for. So I know there's another shop down the street. They have 2 labor rates. They have one. Actually, they have 3 labor rates. They have one for regular passenger cars. They have one for diesels, and then they have a heavy duty labor rate, which is significantly higher than the automotive. And Jude knows what I'm talking about. With the truck center, you have probably 2 different labor rates for. If you're going to work on RVs, you're definitely going to charge something completely different. And RVs will probably by the hour, if not it'll be at least hour for every hour you work on it, and then it's probably going to be sweetened on top of it. They're probably going to put a sweetener in it, so just to get the hours up. Because all that shit is hand built, and it can turn into a cluster quick.
Not only that, but you say if you're doing any kind of engine work on there, you before you can even pull off the doghouse, you've got to get in there with paper and plastic and tape everything up, because you can't get in there with your mechanic clothes and boots on, all over their carpet and everything. You've got it, and you're lying on your stomach with your man.
All right, so I'm gonna tell myself a little bit right here. So I don't work on RVs all the time, but occasionally I have to, and sometimes it's my favorite one, because you go turn the generator on and kick the AC unit, the house AC on, and then you wear shorts and tennis shoes in there because you're like, I can't get it dirty. I have to come in here and be clean. So, especially on the ones, the cab overs, they have the Ford V10. You're just going in doing a tune up. You're like, oh, well, I have to turn the air conditioner on to make sure it works. And you get the cabin AC on, and you go pull the doghouse off, and you're in there in a t-shirt and shorts and tennis shoes, and you're like, this isn't that bad.
It's not all bad.
And then you can just write down there like tested generator, 0.7. Oh, come on. I never really did that, but it's a good joke. It's a good joke. No,
tempting.
actually, I have run the generator before, but I've never charged for running the generator.
I knew guys who would charge their 0.7 for a fuel injection service. You know what their fuel injection service was?
What's that? Spraying the carb?
Pouring a bottle of octane booster or something into the tank.
Oh,
man.
I knew guys like that. And I was like, man, you guys can't be doing that, man.
No, whenever we sell you a service, we give you the full meal deal.
Yeah,
get all the, and there's stuff that we have to buy that's ridiculous. Like the adapters for fuel lines. That stuff is expensive as all get out.
That was one topic that I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you said that. When obviously you're a shop owner now, but where do you? What is the price of a tool? That you're not going to use daily, like a set of wrenches, set of sockets, something cordless impact. That's a daily user. But something that's just used occasionally, when does it become a shop purchase versus a tech purchase? Like usually I would, if I see that it gets used enough, I would still buy my own just so I don't have to worry about where it's at when I need it. But where does that become shop to buy that?
When you start talking about a perfect example would be like a hub grappler, right? That's going to be a shop purchase. The shop needs to own that, not the technician. Ball joint press, the shop needs to own that, not the technician. As much as a lot of guys have their own, because if you're doing some side jobs or something, you want to have your own stuff. You can't borrow the shop stuff. But like AC machine, that's shop purchase. Obviously scan tool, shop purchase. Any kind of programming device, shop tool. You just kind of there's probably a cutoff on like a certain tools. You need to have the hand tools to do everything. Yeah. But when you get into specialty pullers, jacks,
Look at Jason Williams, $3,000 for a compression / leak down tester for a Cummins compressed natural gas engine. That $3,000. I'd ask the shop to buy.
Yeah, the shop's going to need to pull the trigger on that one. And then any kind of like specialty stuff, like we had to buy some stuff for our alignment on a van. Like it was this special adapter so we could set the caster camber on a van. You can't ask technicians.
Do you come across that, Lindsay, where you have to figure out who's buying it, the shop or the?
Yeah, every now and then. Like it just happened, I think, a week or two ago at a diesel shop on the other end of town from where Cass is. This is the first time they've ever had to do this work, and I forget they were doing some engine work on a truck, and I think there was like you guys would know it better than I would, and I don't know if I'm going to get it right because it was just mentioned briefly to me. It was a set of tools they have to hold the valves open while they did an engine job on it, and individual pieces they had to get from a specialty supplier because I didn't have them, and they were like $1,200 per piece. They needed one per cylinder, and they had to buy some other stuff. So the whole thing cost like $4,000 just to get the tools to do this job. And I, out of curiosity, I just looked it up to see who was even selling this stuff. My suppliers didn't touch it. So I forget. It was a company I never heard of that was selling it, and they got it. And it caused me to wonder, they can't, I mean, maybe they could. Do they charge for the entire tool? Do they charge the entire tool to the customer, or do they charge a percentage of it? Hoping that they'll get some more jobs like that in the future, even though this is the first time in 6 years they ever saw that kind of thing.
Oh, who you at? What shop is this? Dripping
Diesel.
Oh, he's probably not charging a customer for that. That guy right there, that guy's a dude. If I wanted to go work on diesels and I wanted to go work for some, I would probably go talk to him. He's
no doubt about it.
He's top notch. He's a top notch human being. Right,
he really is.
When he goes up there, they're going to put a halo over the top of his head. I'm just saying.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. In fact, I was talking to one of the
guys. We were talking
guys.
about the other end of town. I was about to say, fuck those guys.
No, not that.
they would definitely charge the customer. They would definitely charge the customer. I'm telling you, just depends on what side of town you're on.
No, in fact, I was talking to one of his guys, and every week it seems like the techs in that shop are singing Ryan's praises. Ryan is the guy who won that Snap-on toolbox that we gave away. So nice. it couldn't have gone to a better guy. And I felt so good talking to his guys last Tuesday that I walked into his office and said, "Hey man, I just got to tell you, it does my heart good to hear how your guys talk about you." You know, and he felt really good. Just and it's just he's the kind of guy you just want to give that feedback to. He deserves. He's a great guy. You're right. He probably didn't charge the customer, nearly what he should have for that job, based on the fact that they had to drop thousands of dollars on these tools. But how do you figure that out as a shop if you're going to take something in to do what might be a one-off job? How do you get that paid for?
So there's a Ford car that has a clutch, but it's an automatic transmission, and we had to buy the clutch tool from Freedom Racing, and we based on some of the clutch tool to the customer when we put it on.
He froze up. I know I've done side jobs for customers where there's a tool that I don't have, and I'm like, "Hey man, you're going to need this tool to get this job done." And they bought the tool, and then when I'm done, they give it to me. I'm never going to need it again. You just take it.
Wow. And on the other side of the spectrum, you got Quick Wrench, who says that he owns all his own things except for an AC machine and smokers and such. But at what point is it worth it to you to buy your own version of stuff that the shop already owns, just to make your job faster, easier, or more convenient, or whatever?
Well, I'll tell you, Scanner was one of the first things, because one of the shops that I worked at, we had two IDSs. One was always broke. IDS is a Ford diagnostic tool. One was always busted, and then, every department had to share the other one. So that's when the IDS, I've talked about it before. The fire we had, it got destroyed in the fire we had at my old place. But I bought that because that way, when I needed it, which I needed it every day for every vehicle I worked on, and it just worked out. I didn't have to worry about anybody else needing it. Hey.
Anyway, at 2 casses.
Oh, I just made the top row. I just made the top row. Oh.
I'm going places.
I'm not tired of this. He moved you up a peg, Jude. We talked about that. I was going to have the internet problems. Kind of like wrestling. We worked it out beforehand. That's how he was on the phone with me about it. He's like, okay, about an hour and 8 minutes in, I'm going to look you out. We'll come back in and put Jude on the top.
I wanted to bring up ask Cass his thoughts on one. There's one kind of labor or job that you cannot charge. You have to use dealer parts, and they want you to charge what you pay for, and you can't bump labor. And it's just pulling teeth with these people is. But when a customer comes in and they have an aftermarket warranty, because these guys they open you open Identifix or Mitchell on Demand or whatever it is, and it says 9 hours or 9.1 hours. They're like, no, it's 9.1, because they're opening the book and looking at the exact same thing you're looking at. They're calling dealerships and helping you find parts because they want to get them as cheap as possible because it's an aftermarket warranty company. You guys deal with any of those, Cass?
Not often, but I'll tell you this. So on an aftermarket warranty, if a live human being doesn't answer the phone, then it's not getting approved. If you get like a call center right away, or you get like a message, it's never going to get approved. Like you can kiss that goodbye. The aftermarket warranties, oh my gosh, some of those are. Oh, it's just a waste. And you can take the money that you pay for the warranty, you can put in a savings account, and the 1% interest it earns would be probably better than what you do, or on most of these aftermarket car warranties, and they don't pay for shit. And this is like at the shop I used to work at. I'll throw names out. He's not watching. Fuck him. At Lloyd's, whenever they call the aftermarket warranty, a lot of times we have to be like, okay, like you'll pay and then we'll give you the bill and you can go handle your own warranty, because you could spend hours on the phone with these people trying to get these things approved. Jude, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
100%. Yeah.
Oh my, is the biggest pain in the ass. And then they are, just like Dave said, and they don't pay for anything. They try to cheap out on everything. And you're just like, fuck this. I don't want to work on it. Like, I'm not doing this. This is such a pain in the ass. Like, I don't give a shit if Ric Flair from Car Shield told you this is this. You know what? Ric Flair don't know shit. Fuck you too for bringing this Car Shield shit in here too. Sorry, excuse me for cussing, Lindsay. I know we're not to the 3-hour mark yet, where I can start dropping the F-bomb regularly. But you want to make a sane into a center. You bring a freaking aftermarket car warranty into a shop, you'll find I bet Ryan probably cusses these people. You know what I mean? He's just like, I mean, those things are terrible.
9 out of 10 jobs, they're going to want to send out an inspector to verify that what you're telling them is wrong.
You're lucky if they send out an inspector, because if he comes out, you will probably get the job. Like, I can talk that guy into okay.
Yeah, because they don't know crap of what they're doing. They just walk in with the clipboard and they're writing notes. For all I know, they're drawing SpongeBob. And yeah, so like I said, if you get the inspector, you can talk him into it. Take him on a road test. You can make, but man, on the phone.
See the wheel shaking when we're driving off the road, but you're not going to write that we're driving off the road. Yeah, no, and then they don't cover anything. They're the biggest joke out there. I always tell people not to buy them whenever they buy a car. You better put your money in a savings account.
Yeah, and you're really just playing the odds at that point. Do you really think you're going to need it? And if so, is it worth the money you're putting in? And there's worth the hassle on the back end to get it fulfilled, if you can.
In the mid-2000s, there was a company that came into Ford, the dealership. They were pimping this aftermarket warranty because they came in, they heard the pitch from the salesman that came and tried to get them to carry these warranties. And the main reason they got them was because of the 6.0s. A lot of overheating concerns, a lot of oil cooler restrictions, causing head gasket concerns. And the causal part was the oil cooler a lot of the time. And these were expensive repairs. So the dealership was selling these warranties because the company was saying, the oil cooler's covered. But then when the repairs started coming in and we were telling them, it's the oil cooler, they were saying no to the claim because they said it had to be mechanical. And then we said, but you said, because we would say it was a restriction in the oil cooler. And they said, well, let me figure out my train of thought again. I'm getting ahead of myself. They would say, yes, the oil cooler is covered, but no, you said it's a restriction, so we can't cover it because it's not a mechanical concern. And we said, well, an oil cooler, it's not a mechanical part. It's a heat exchanger. It's a radiator. So how are you going to get a mechanical failure on an oil cooler? They're like, well, they couldn't explain it, but they didn't want to cover the warranty. So our shop, man, we stopped using that warranty, and it was a stand-up shop, man. We paid for, I don't know how many, a bunch of them that ended up having that concern. My boss was like, all right, we're just going to cover it. We told them to buy the warranty. They bought it. Now it's this. So we were just covering them for a while. But I was like, man, that's crazy, because it was a horrible, horrible issue, man, for a few months going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a $2 super chat from Shaka Gillis. Thank you. Appreciate that.
He can say they're Basura. That's fine. We get it.
Hey, look at the avatar. Hey, what's his name?
Cream of D's nuts. Got him.
Don't forget the condensed.
Lindsay, you never have to worry. I'm never afraid. The filter is never on.
No, nor should it be.
No. But my shops, I don't know how many other shops burn customers that way. My shop kind of did the right thing, but man, that was a horrible way to go.
Yeah. No, aftermarket warranties, they're shit. Like Chaka said, they're horrible trash.
And Shannon Dickinson falls on the $5 super chat. Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it.
Shannon, what's up? What's up?
Lindsay, you got $7. You can almost
$7.
buy.
You guys are all right. Thank you.
You guys are all right. Cigarettes are on Lindsay tonight after the show. He's smoking some Pall Malls. What do we got?
$3 more for my appearance fee, then you can start on Cass's.
Yeah,
Hang on. Honey, we're having steak tonight.
Steak. I don't know what you get for $7 for steak, but I bet it's not that great.
We were joking around, guys, but trust me, super chats are greatly appreciated, man.
Very much so. I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, you guys like what we do, and we appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Even though none of it's going to me.
Yeah, I know.
But this brings to mind the question about ethics in a shop and how things are, how business is done. And even though you may like the people you're working with and or working for, how much do the ethics of how they do business determine whether or not you stick around?
I split, man. I did almost 3 years at the last shop I was at, and I just couldn't do it anymore, man. My old boss was it hasn't been 3 hours yet, so I'll say effing. He was an effing crook, an effing a-hole. He just, I couldn't do it anymore. And I don't know if I've told you guys the way I left, but we had one tech put in his 2 weeks notice, and his last day was a Friday. And, he came in, he said, all right, see you guys later. My boss was like, oh, man, I'm glad he gave it 2 weeks notice because the last guy that left didn't give me any notice. Remember? Yeah, I know how it is. So we went home Friday night. Sunday, I took my son to a birthday party at a Sky Zone, one of those trampoline jump parks. Then we went to the kid's dad, who was the kid's whose birthday it was, took everybody to a pizza place. So we went to a pizza place, finished up about 7:30, and my son was with me. I said, all right, come on. I had the keys to the shop, So I went in, I opened up the shop, I turned off the alarm, I loaded up my toolbox, everything that I had from the office, everything, my little cart. I locked up, I alarmed the shop again, I dropped my keys in the drop box. And about 3 weeks later, I got a check in the mail and a note saying that I was terminated for no call, no show. Terminated. Come on, dude. I left and dropped my keys in the drop box. He's still had the balls.
It took him 3 weeks.
Yeah, and he had the balls to try to say he terminated me.
All right. So
wow.
I'm going to tell myself here. I guess I have to tell the story. So I worked for a guy for 21 years, and I left over a conversation that we had in about 2 minutes.
Oh.
How I lucked out on this whole deal. It was the best thing that ever happened to me was getting away from him. And we were close, we're like family close. And I was like, I think you're overstepping your bounds a little bit. And he didn't think so. And I was like, see you later. But as far as ethics in the shop, I've called guys out in the past. I have no problem. I've always treated every place I've worked at as if it was my own, and whether it is or not. And if you treat something that way, you will always make sure that the highest standards are upheld. And I'll call guys out when they do half-ass repairs. You can't, there's no other way because your name's attached to it. You work at that shop, whether you own it or not, you work there. And, you may not reap the benefits of ownership, but you damn sure are responsible for quality. And I called guys out because I worked with a guy that, was a master tech and, he did shit work. And I called him out because he was just a parts changing hack. And I can't stand people that do that. They sell everything. And then one of those times they get caught doing it. And, it's shitty work. A customer shouldn't have to pay for everything under the sun because
there's guys
it's called a blanket repair, right?
I was just going to say a blanket repair. It covers everything. Yeah. If you throw a blanket on it and it covers everything, but they don't know what the hell they're fixing or diagnosing. It's man, exactly. I was just going to say blanket repair when you said that.
Yeah. So
Jason has Jason has a sad tale about the number of guys that'll leave a shop before the problem guy is taken care of. And I can tell you horror stories about one of the trash companies that I have been servicing for many years and continue to do so. It's one of my favorite shops. They're a nationwide company, and they have a large presence here in this area. And unfortunately, that place is like a revolving door. Techs are constantly leaving, but you know who sticks around? the supervisors and managers that everyone can't stand, including the other management. And it makes me wonder why these guys continue to hang around. Why aren't they let go first as being the problem when everyone can identify it? And they had one guy there who was there for years. No one liked him. Even his bosses didn't like him, but he stuck around. And I couldn't help but wonder, does he have something on somebody? Like, are people afraid to let him go? And they finally let him go. And of course, things improved. They got better. But, then you run the risk of who they're replacing that guy with. So there's always that, but it's really a shame when you have that one bad apple who sticks around and everybody else cycles out because they can't stand being with them.
And this is the whole deal. Whenever you take a job, you're always doing some homework on the shop. You go and talk to the guys. You're like, hey, how long did the guy that I'm replacing last year for? Like,
yeah.
6 months. You're like, there's a problem. You do your homework whenever you interview for jobs. You ask the tool guys, like, do they stick around? Do they don't? Kind of what's their deal. You don't want to hire a guy that's had 50 jobs because he's had 50 jobs for a reason.
Oh, no doubt.
And then you don't want to go to a shop that hires 3 people a year, not because they're growing, because they're replacing. Those are like warning signs. And, at least for me, whenever I look at stuff like that, I'm just like, man, like sometimes you don't figure it out until you're there, but sometimes you can figure it out pretty quick. You can go like, ooh, I don't know about this.
When I was first entered the field, I was young, and I started at one Ford dealership, and I did jump around. I went from one Ford dealership to another Ford dealership, back to the previous Ford dealership, to 2 more when I finally stuck at one for a long time. But I wasn't jumping around. I think I don't know if this is acceptable.
I know where you're going on this one. With dealerships is a little bit different animal, right? Because sometimes you can't advance in a dealership unless you leave and go to a different one, and then they hire you back. I do know those dealerships.
That's absolutely true. But the main reason I was leaving was because my boss who hired me, he took a job at a different dealership, and he asked me to go with him. And then he went to, every 2 years he was going to a different dealership. He was giving me a raise. They were all local. And finally he was going to Arizona, and he wanted me to go to Arizona with him. I said, no, I'm not going to Arizona. And I stuck where I was, and I ended up being there like 10, 12 years.
Yeah. But I'll say that with dealerships, I know that a lot of times guys can get stuck at dealerships, and it's the one way to force your way up is
you have to leave.
Yeah, you have to leave.
They would rather, if I'm making $25 an hour at a dealership and I want 27, they're going to tell me no, but they'll pay someone else 29 to come in to replace me. Yeah, that's how dealerships work. I don't get it. Why not pay the person who is there every day? Half hour early, has his cup of coffee and gets to work. Gets stuff done, doesn't get rechecks. Doesn't have a shop ticket that's like $300 a month. But you'll bring in the complete unknown. I don't know. That's just how it worked. It was weird. Cass is right. Dealerships were weird.
They are weird. They're weird for a tool guy too. I can't stand servicing dealerships, so I don't. I mean, I'd have to be very desperate to want to do business with dealerships because of things like that. People leave a lot, and the stuff that Jason's saying here too. These reasons are the reasons why technicians leave. And when they leave, they tend to leave in groups. And, 6, 10, 12 guys will start talking among themselves. And you know what? Screw this, we're out of here. And they go. And when they do that, it really hurts the tool guy too. So it's difficult to do business there as a tool guy, as a vendor. It's difficult, to get consistency if you're a customer and you need service because you don't know who's going to be working on your car day to day. And I think it's interesting to have the insight like that I do because, when family and friends ask me to recommend shops, I'm like, there's only 2. Cass's is one of them.
I have used System Manager before. There was a time when I was, I'll tell you my biggest regret in a second, but there was a time where, a couple people left the shop that I was working at, and the boss came up to me with a poor attitude one morning. And I'm like, you know what? A lot more money that would look nice in my pocket right now. And he's like, what are you saying? I go, I either get a raise or you're going to have to help me move my toolbox. So he's like, what do you want? And I go, well, I want you to make an offer first, and then I'll counter. And he made an offer. I'm like, well, that's a lot more than I was thinking. So we'll go with your offer. but Biggest regret I ever had is I wish I'd moved around just a little bit more. I was at one place for 21 years, and you get as good as it was to work at one place for 21 years, because there's a lot of benefits to it, because a personal relationship with somebody is really hard to beat, whether it ends poorly or not. Just the meantime, like, I learned a lot from that person, and probably qualities and standards was probably the number one thing I learned. And so that was good, but I wish I'd moved around a little bit more just to get a little more experience. Maybe learn from some different people. I always look at every day as a learning experience. You guys learn something every day, and I try to do that. But that's my only regret, really. So,
where do you draw that line between that healthy amount of movement in the industry and job hopping?
You're getting a new job once a year, less than every 2 or 3. That's probably a problem.
Yeah, because it matters on both sides, right? It matters to you as a technician. It matters to you as a guy who would be hiring people when you look at their work history too. So there's always going to be that conversation about why did you move to so many shops, and what, is the problem you, or because we all know there are some really bad shops in the world and you really want to get out. But at some point, you got to show the commitment that we're able to stick around for a little while, because the learning opportunity might be very good, even though you don't like the guys that you're working for. But you still have to walk that line somehow, and that can't be easy to do.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that. And I, once I left the dealerships, I didn't jump around as much. But like I said, that last shop I was at, man, I did almost 3 years, and I just couldn't make it better. I did almost 3 years, and when I left, I had the most tenure in the shop by like 2.5 years. Everybody that was there when I started was gone.
But isn't that funny how much effort it seems to take to improve a shop sometimes? When the problems are obvious, you would think it would be fairly simple to fix, because everyone can usually identify what the problems are. It's not a mystery why a shop doesn't work right, or why guys aren't terribly good at what they're doing. Like, everyone knows. To Jason's earlier point, you put a parts guy in charge of service. Yeah, obviously everyone's going to know it's going to be a problem. People know if there's a problem employee, or if something in the culture isn't working right for everybody. But it's terribly difficult to solve those problems, I found.
Yeah, when again, this is a story that I've told before about a friend of mine who worked at a shop, who he was there for a long time, and one service manager hired him, but by the time he started, there was another service manager there, and he was there, I don't know, 5 years, and he probably went through 8 service managers, I don't remember the exact number, but he was constantly going through service managers. And the dealership that he worked at was a big dealership, and the owner of the dealership owned probably 15 dealerships. He owned a ton of dealerships. Some of them were Toyota stores, and this parts and service director that had his Toyota stores booming would come in, and he would train all these Ford service managers to run it the way he ran his store. But nothing would work. Nothing was working. It was horrible. And finally, at one of the meetings, when he was letting the crew know that they were looking for a new service manager, my friend spoke up and told this guy, you've gone through 5 or 6 service managers since I've been here, and you say that they can't run the shop right, but you've come in and trained every single one of them, and they're running it the way you train them to run it. So maybe you should let someone else run it the way they want to run it, instead of how you want them to run it, and maybe it'll run right. So maybe you're the problem. And I was like, damn, dude, you got some nuts, bro.
Is he wrong? I mean, everyone's got their own experiences. Sammy Salinas just jumped on. Welcome aboard, Sammy. It's good to see you. Sammy and I have known each other for years. He's a terrific guy. I've mentioned him a bunch of times in my tool hall videos. And he works for Capital Metro, and it's a large multi-layered environment there. As a technician, He's hired by the management company that's been hired by the government entity that is Capital Metro. And there's this mix of people who work for the management company versus Capital Metro who do all the things that it takes to keep that facility running. And to say it has its share of problems is perhaps an understatement because it's a government-run organization. So it's bureaucratic. It has a lot of layers in there. There's people in positions who probably shouldn't be there, and everyone knows what the problems are. I was talking to a guy yesterday actually who popped on the truck. I hadn't seen this guy in years. Come to find, he was promoted to a training position. And he was talking about the problems he was identifying, and it just seems like it's very disheartening when you think about how easy you think it would be to solve a lot of these problems, but how difficult it is in practice.
Yeah, the
I'm gonna say I had to see me while I'm still here.
The problem is usually right in front of everyone's nose. They know what it is. It's the person above that problem making the call, because a lot of times the problem is the person making the calls.
Yep.
What's up, hands-on mechanical?
How you doing?
Has everybody here seen Caddyshack?
That's one 80s movie that I have not seen.
You see Caddyshack?
What?
No. Do I need
All right, Lindsay, I'm going to use a reference from my internet. My internet is like this. Remember that part whenever Rodney Dangerfield's in the clubhouse or in the place for Judge Schmelz is put on the head. He goes, "Oh, the head come with a free bowl of soup."
Good on you.
That's my internet tonight. The free bowl of soup.
I'll watch that tonight, man. The last movie you told me I had to go watch, I watched, and I can't think of the name right now, but I know it was the one where Kurt Russell was the car salesman.
Oh, Used Cars.
Used Cars. I love that movie, man.
Yes, and Caddyshack has some TNA in it as well.
Oh, that's probably why I didn't see it as a kid. Then my mom probably was like, "No, you're not seeing that one." And it's one of the ones that just got slipped through the window. Never saw it.
Now, Caddyshack 2, on the other hand, is not that great of a movie, but Caddyshack is an excellent movie.
It's amazing how
Lizzie has this thing. He hates all sequels, and there's a few
very few sequels I've liked, and don't get me going on Ghostbusters 2.
Oh,
I love that movie.
There's a line in one of the episodes of The Big Bang Theory where the guys buy something at a thrift store or yard sale, and they're going through the box, and they're like, "Whoa, I can't believe we got all this stuff!" And they look, and they're like, "Whoa, we got the script to Ghostbusters!" And they're all excited, and then someone taps them on the shoulder and says, "Nah, it's Ghostbusters 2." And they're like, "Oh," and they tossed it.
Oh man. So I'll say that, hey, Jason, I'm going to answer that. I just had a boyfriend, girlfriend working together at the shop, and I'm telling you, I will never, ever, 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 ever let a spouse or significant other work with the other one again. Ever.
No, you can't do it. And Sammy said the dumb ones get promoted fast, and the good techs don't want to deal with the management side of it. And then you wind up promoting the guys that shouldn't be promoted. And the guys that probably would do well don't want it.
Okay, we're at an hour 33. Can I start using F word?
Sure, yeah. You didn't stop it before. Go ahead.
This is the case of fucking up. You know what I mean? Like, you're so bad that you fucked up. You know what I mean? This is fucking up.
I'm going to use that for sure.
But it's absolute.
I completely fucked up, but now I'm in charge. That's how we like politicians in this country. But it's are you the dumbest motherfucker alive? Absolutely. Welcome to Congress.
Well, that's right. You meet people, or you've seen people say, why does this person run for president in the United States? Because they're too smart to. Why would they put themselves through that? Right. So what you get is an automatic filter on this system that filters out good people for these jobs because they don't want to deal with it. Why would they? Especially in an environment like Sammy works, where the supervisors get paid less than the guys on the floor. Why would you do that? Right? They're making good money turning wrenches there. Why would you want to take yourself out of that unless you just don't want to deal with that part of it anymore? But it seems like, I don't know, it seems like it's an undesirable position there.
That's the shop that you go twice, or one day you go during the day and another time you go at night. Is that the shop?
I'm there between their two facilities. I'm there 5 times a week.
Oh, wow. They're a big customer then.
Oh, they're huge. They're my biggest customer. So I make every effort to see them as much as I can. And when I look at customers like those guys and like Waste Connections I was telling you about before, they're fantastic customers, and I will always make the effort as many times as I got to go. In fact, I started going to Waste Connections twice a week now, just to one of their facilities. I service 2 of them. I started going twice to one, so now I'm seeing those guys 3 times a week, and I see Capital Metro 5 times a week, because you have to. There's plenty of business there, and the guys, honestly, they just not to pat myself on the back, but they deserve a good tool guy, because they've been put through the ringer lately with trying to keep tool guys around. Their Snap-on guy went out of business because he tried to pull a fast one and defraud his insurance company by having his truck stolen. So he's out of business, and they filled the position with a corporate guy that's not doing a great job. The Mako guy made some really bad business decisions and got so far into debt he can't get out of it. So he's not coming around because he started mistreating people there by taking their payments that were supposed to go to Mako Credit and putting them in his own pocket. Yeah, the Mac guy, he's hit or miss, and he doesn't,
Well, you can't shit on Kyle that bad.
Cornwall comes around, I think, once a week, right? I'm there as much as I can be. And I've, in fact, I was talking to a guy about it a few weeks ago, and I said, when I think back on the 9 years that I've been servicing your shop, I am the only guy that's been here for those 9 years, as far as the tool truck is concerned. Every other tool trucks have come and gone at least 2 or 3 times.
Kyle is not that bad, Lindsay.
Tarek said, hour 33. Why didn't anyone remind me?
Lindsay, can you read this for us, please? I can't make this out. My internet's a little sketchy right now.
What is it?
Can you read Tarek's comment for me, please? I can't read it. My screen's a little blurry.
Oh, Tarek's? Thanks, guys. Thank you at the end.
Hour 33. Why didn't anybody remind me?
Hey, I don't know if you actually got a chance to weigh in, Lindsay, on the when it goes from shop tool to tech tool, like what you've noticed, what you've seen. I know you were gonna, but I know we get off track. Like everyone talks over each other. I apologize.
Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes the techs will ask me to talk to the shop owner about getting something for the shop. So sometimes they'll mention to me, like, we really need whatever it is. Can you mention that to, the owner? I'm like, sure, I'll mention it to him. In fact, I do that on the regular at Waste Connections. There's guys that say, we really need wheel dollies. Can you talk to, Dave about that? I'm like, sure. So I'll talk to him. Hey, the guys are mentioning that you need these things. He'll go, oh yeah, write me up a quote. So I'll write him up the quote. He'll submit it, get approval for it, and then I buy the stuff for him. And it depends on the relationship with the shop and what the structure is with that shop. There's guys who won't even have that conversation because they already know where that delineation is. But to Quick Wrench's point earlier about buying things that the shop already has, there's guys that'll do that too. Most shops are going to have scanners. I don't know a shop that expects the technician to buy scanners, for example, but a lot of technicians would prefer their own because there's either things about a model that they like that's different from the one the shop owns or whatever it is. And so sometimes it's a conversation I have with the shop owner, especially if I see a trend developing and I'll see other shops that have bought things. I may notice a shop doesn't have something and I'll say, hey, this is what I see. Could you find something like that useful? And, that starts a conversation about that. Sometimes it's over things as simple as, like supplying gloves, which has been a big thing for me lately. That conversation has been coming up more and more over over time about supplying gloves. Are the guys buying themselves or does the shop buy them? And to this guy, Ryan, that owns Dripping Diesel, his guys have always bought gloves from me 1 box at a time. And it's another story maybe for another time, but I have to liquidate the glove inventory that I have right now. So I'm trying to find new venues to sell this stuff in. And I decided to talk to the shop owner, Ryan, about this. I said, I know you guys buy gloves individually, but do you ever think about making that a shop supply? And he said, oh yeah, whatever you want to do. Just I'm like, okay. I'm like, I can give you, a good discount. I'll give you a discount on case quantity. He goes, yeah, just get them, and then I'll give you my card. Like, okay, I should have had this conversation years ago, But so the next week I rolled in with enough, with cases of gloves for the guys who needed them, and he paid for them, and that's going to be a regular thing going forward to supply that shop with consumables now that I didn't before. So it's always a different conversation depending on the particular shop.
Nobody wears the same size glove as me. I have to buy my own.
What do you got? Are you 2X?
Yeah, because he doesn't carry a 3.
Oh, wow.
I don't know anyone that makes a triple X.
I usually get, now depending on the glove, if it's the...
Y'all want to see how big my hand is? Look, we'll do some movie magic. Look at this.
It's bigger than
I'll have to wave. It is. Look. Hold on. I'll squeeze my hand. No.
I was gonna fight him, but I didn't want to drop my ice cream.
There's days I wish I had a medium hand. I promise you. But it would look weird on my body.
Today, I wish I had a medium hand putting that alternator on the CRV.
Not a lot of guys have medium gloves. Same as a triple X.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll go large or extra large, just depending on the brand I get.
There's always a slight variance.
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to talk to you. To be fair, there was a few weeks that Lindsay didn't show up to the shop for one reason or another. And then his truck may have been broken down for another one of those weeks. I didn't forget about you. I forgot about you. And then he was missing for another few weeks. But for a good reason.
Yeah. But everything's okay now. Just to give you some backstory, my dad had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago. And it was a doozy, but he's okay. He had some emergency surgery to put some stents in. So he's doing fine. But that just takes time and effort, pulls you away from everything else while you focus on the family and help him and my mom out, make sure they get where they need to go, and just spending time with them. So it's been a rough schedule wise. It's been a rough last couple of months actually, but I think everything's back on track now.
Yeah. If only you could find me some employees.
Oh, Tarek says he needs a case or two of gloves. Gas. He's going to talk.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Am I coming in clear? Is my microphone working?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Just making sure.
Hey, good news, Tarek. You can go to coiltools.com/shop and buy gloves by the 1,000 count case.
How much is a 1,000 count case delivered?
Yeah, that includes shipping.
How much does it cost?
Oh, $150. So $15. $15 for a box like this. 100 gloves in a box. 10 boxes in a case. $150 delivered.
Is that big shop working out for you? That was going to buy all the gloves?
It is not.
Oh no.
No, all right, I'll give you the story because hey, we're not even 2 hours in. We got time. So I'll give you the long version of the story because it's going to be good that way. Last September, I was talking with one of the technicians in Capital Metro. It's a huge shop, and they supply gloves.
Is he in the chat right now by chance?
Yes. So I was talking to I said, man, I'd love to know who I have to talk to see if I can supply gloves. He said, I'll introduce you to the guy. I'm like, wow, this is great. So he walks me into the office of the guy. I think he's a facility director, if I'm not mistaken. And I talked to him, and I told him that I could get some really good pricing on gloves because I have a deal where I get them directly from a manufacturer overseas. And he said, "Yeah, that sounds great." He goes, "Talk to the guy in charge of maintenance who can make that decision." I said, "Sure." So I called that guy, set up a meeting. I go in, I give him some samples of gloves. He goes, "These look really good." He said, can we get a sample order, and then we'll pass them out to all the technicians, get their feedback, and then we'll go from there. Sure. So he makes an order for, I forget, a couple hundred boxes. So I get the order in, and he said, just follow up with a lady who orders them. She works in the parts department. So I gave it a couple of weeks. I followed up with her, and she says, "Yeah, we'd like the gloves. We'll buy them from you." I said, "Great." I said, what quantity should I gear up for? Because I have to stock up on these to make sure that I have enough on hand to deliver what you need. Also accounting for how long it takes me to get an order fulfilled from my supplier. Because it takes 3 months to get these shipped from overseas. And she said, right now we're buying 1,000 boxes every 2 months. And I said, okay. So if I know that every 2 months they're going to burn 1,000 boxes, that means I got to have like 4 months worth of gloves. So I have a couple of thousand on hand, plus my other customers. I'm doing calculations. I bought about 4,000 boxes of gloves for this. Now, understand this before I go any further. I did not sign a contract. This is a verbal agreement. So when I tell you how it all went south, I know that I have no one to blame but myself because because they would not have signed a contract for this because it doesn't reach that level in their purchasing system for having to sign a contract. So this is a verbal deal. So my delivery of 4,000 boxes comes in. They make their first order of 1,000 boxes, and I deliver it. And I was expecting in 2 months or so to get another order in. Well, the 2-month time comes, and I talk to the purchasing lady. She says, "Oh, we don't know what we haven't done an inventory yet. We don't know what we need. I'll get back to you." I'm like, okay. So a few more weeks go by. I followed up again. Same thing. A few more weeks after that. We're now 3 months into what I was expecting to be a 2-month reorder. Still nothing. At the 4-month mark, I started to get a little worried. And I kind of leaned on her a little bit. And I said, I was expecting by now to have at least another reorder from you. She said, okay, we'll do another. I'll get back to you. So a couple of days later, she sent me an email. They need 300 boxes. Now, in that period of time, I was expecting to have sold another 2,000 boxes. So she ordered 300. I'm like, well, that's way different. And another month went by after that, and I still hadn't had another reorder. So then I'm panicking. And the reason I'm panicking is because in order to afford the 4,000 boxes that I kept on hand, I had to take out a loan. And what secures the loan is my work trucks. So and that loan is coming due. So I can't pay that loan unless I sell these gloves. So now I'm worried. So I started sending an email to some higher ups and the people I originally talked to. And I said, I know you didn't promise me anything, but I entered this conversation in this deal in good faith that you'd be ordering about 1,000 every 2 months. And you're 86% below that. And then they placed another order for 500 boxes. I mean, well, okay, but that's still, we're 1,500 boxes away from where I was expecting to be. So now I'm having to liquidate my inventory so I can pay for them. So I'm doing things like having these conversations with other shops where I can offer them a larger quantity for a lot less than they would normally get it for, wherever they would normally buy it. So, it's a deal that it's not going to wreck us. It's not going to ruin us. It's just going to be a little uncomfortable. Like figure out how to get everything, sold and pay for the loan, which isn't a big deal. I'm only about 700 boxes away from getting them all sold off. So it's not a big deal. And I still have another few months. So I'll sell it all, and that won't be a pain point anymore. But it's one of those lessons that you learn as you go in how you work with a new customer, on what it's like to be a vendor for a large bureaucratic organization that lacks, that personal contact that you get day to day with the individual owner or the shop manager, whoever it is. So that's the long version of that story.
Lindsay, just to let you know, I know the repo man that works for the place you took the loan from, and I know where he stores all his stuff, so I can bust you out pretty quick.
I might take you up on that.
I have insider knowledge. Me and another guy down the street do.
You
So
autistic?
just let me know.
Here, revive me.
So after you liquidate what you have, are you still gonna sell branded gloves?
I will, but I have to wait till I place a reorder because I can't afford to reorder them until I sell what I got.
Gotcha.
So there's going to be this lag between the time I sell off what I have and the time I can place my first reorder, and it takes me 3 months to get them. So there's going to be a gap. I can fill that gap fairly easily with some other brands, but I'll barely be making a profit on them. But it'll get me through. I can still do it.
$15 a box of gloves, man. That's a great price.
It is.
And apparently they're great quality because Sammy says that they last a long time.
Well, that's one of the, and that was one of the things I was banking on when I talked to the people at Metro. I said I expect that these gloves are going to last you longer than the thinner 6 mil gloves that you were getting. So I said I understand that you're probably not going to be reordering 1,000 every 2 months, but it should be close in the ballpark, right? 10%, 15% different, not 86% less. I mean, that's just, and then I found, the other part of the story is I found that they didn't stop doing business with the vendor that was selling them the thinner black gloves. They're still buying them from them. And I was under the impression that I'd be the sole source of gloves for them. So that did not pan out the way I was told it would. So
why are you doing that position?
They're still buying other gloves. I said, well, I can quote those gloves for you too. They'll say, no, we can't. We have to buy them from this vendor. I don't know why that is.
Because somebody's getting kickback on this deal.
It's got to be. That's usually what happens, I think, with cases like this. When you're looking at something that doesn't make financial sense or logistical sense, someone's getting some benefit that they're happy to keep getting. So they'll keep me at arm's length.
Yeah, I would have to say that.
Yeah.
I'm alive.
Yeah, the government is good.
Yes, Sammy. But one of the things I love about the guys there is I have a really good relationship with them. So they're all, as I'm telling guys there this story, like, oh, well, what happens is this. Now I forgot. Here's another part of the story. So they go to the parts counter. They say, "Can I have a box of gloves?" The guy at the parts counter or the gal at the parts counter will just hand them a box of gloves. They're usually handing them the black gloves they get from another vendor. So they're sitting on the gloves they get from me, and they're not burning through them. So the reorders are few and far between.
Man.
Like, why is that? Right? Now, if they ask specifically for the orange gloves, they'll get them, my orange gloves. But if they don't, they're going to get the black gloves. So as they're talking among themselves, guys are like, we're all going to ask for the orange gloves. Like, thank you. And then when I was there yesterday morning, I happened to be at the parts counter talking to a customer, and then another customer comes up as I'm talking to this one guy, and the parts guy comes up. Yeah, what can I do for you? And the guy says, I need a box of gloves. And the guy goes, okay. And he walks away and goes, and I hear him shout, what color? And I said, orange. So the guy came back with a box of my gloves. You got to do. But yeah, that's
I have a question. Does Waste Connections? Did they buy any gloves from you?
Who?
Waste Connections. They buy any gloves
they
from
buy
you?
all the time. Yeah, in fact, I talked to them about it. And I said, "Here, look." I said, "I don't expect to make my problem your problem, but I have a problem. And if you want to help out, I can offer you a deep discount on gloves if you buy them in a case quantity." And they said, "Sure." So they did. So they bought another 300 from me. Actually, they bought a few more because I happened to meet a guy that works for one of their transfer facilities who bought some from me too. So the glove business for those guys has been fantastic, and it's been terrific. So everything helps when people are buying the case quantities. Tarek, if you want to buy a couple of cases, just go to my website and order them. Coiltools.com/shop, and you can see the different sizes there. And they ship to you for no additional cost. $150 for 1,000 of them, and they've been a very good seller. Knowing what I know now is going to change the way I approach it. So I won't keep as many on hand, and I won't. And I'll sell what I can to Capital Metro, but I can't gear up for that, not knowing what they're going to be buying from me anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to buy some gloves, knowing that you're going to be out of business here pretty soon.
Terry.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Tarek, I'm sure that happens way more than any of us care to believe. That guys get kickbacks or they get some kind of gratuity thing from the vendor. They get tickets to sports events, or they get, something nice around the holidays or whatever it is. There's something that those guys are getting as a sign of appreciation that makes it worth their while.
What do you think was going on in this situation? I wasn't working at this shop, but the Mac tool dealer, the Roscoe, and Harry, my Maco dealer, they all told me that a big dealership here in Redlands, they would have to park across the street in the restaurant parking lot, cross the street, walk into the shop, talk to the techs, and the techs would have to walk out and cross the street because the only truck that was allowed on the premises was the cornwall truck. What do you think? What do you think was going on with that?
That's a really good one. I don't know. That's
and that was Gabe, who has since left to Utah. And from what I understand, Roscoe goes on the premises now, but I don't know if anyone else does.
I don't know. That's a really good question. It's odd that the shop would play favorites like that. That happened to me when COVID struck, I was servicing waste management, and they're a corporate shop. They had a rule that no vendors can be on site. No tool trucks can show up. I said, okay, can I call the guys and meet them down the road here? No, because we're not letting them on any tool trucks. Okay. I'm like, so what happens
to do?
Right? What happens now? Again, I don't expect waste management to care about me being in business, but they need to care about their guys. And if the guys it's not even if they need to buy a tool, they can buy their tools anywhere.
Service,
what if it breaks? Right? What if they need service? What if they need something after the sale? Right? And they didn't care about that either. So it took, I think, 7 months, and then I got an email from the manager there. Said, "Hey man, we want you to come back to the shop." I said, "Great." So I go back to the shop, and the manager told me, he says, "Just so you know, you might be interested. We were told by corporate we could only allow 2 tool trucks back on, and we asked the guys whose they were, and they said yours, and then they had to pick another one, and there was kind of a discussion about who that would be, right? It's like if they settled on me and I think Mako or Cornwall at the time, but I felt really good knowing that I was one of the preferred guys, among the techs there.
And what they do for 7 months without a tool truck?
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you. I had a bunch of warranties I had to take care of when I got back.
I'll bet.
But Daniel has some interesting insights here. Some government facilities have to buy a certain percentage of documented U.S. made products. That makes sense to me. But there's always got to be some provision for products that aren't available from U.S. manufacturers. As far as I know, gloves is one of them. I don't know any U.S. manufacturers that have those. And in fact, I looked at, and Sammy, if you're still on, check me on this one. I think the Black Knight gloves that you guys get are not made in the U.S. because I looked over the boxes on those to see what the brand was. So I don't think they are either. So I don't know. But then he went on to say that if they're ordering from Big Master or Grainger, they have to keep up a certain order to keep free red label shipping. And that makes sense to me too. In a shop that large, they buy a ton of stuff. And I haven't yet cracked the nut on being a tool vendor for them, even though they buy the same stuff that I sell. They're just choosing a different vendor. And I've had that conversation with some of the people in their purchasing department, but clearly there's more work to be done there. And I don't know why. It might very well be that they're ordering, that they have to order certain minimums from these suppliers.
Have you watched the YouTube shorts?
Oh, and then they are getting kickbacks from Grainger. Grainger sends a book of free products you can pick up. Okay. Well, they're not even trying to hide it.
Marlboro points.
Yeah, really.
You didn't give me an ice cream. What am I going to do? It was $3 for one scoop. Gary's like, Gary would have paid me back.
Jamie says, yeah, that's why Metro bought 2 snow plows. For all the snow we get in Austin, Texas.
Oh, but hey, Sammy, when we had a foot of snow on the ground, everybody was bitching that we didn't have any snow plows.
I was gonna pay him
Yeah. Rolling with Rodney says background noise is out of control, yo.
It got better. Just
yeah.
now. Okay.
Jude's laying down the law in the house right now.
Oh.
And everybody that's server dude Matt. So he's gonna wave at least and say hi.
There he is.
Jude, if he's gonna take over the stream, he needs to at least make an appearance.
Yeah, I was just showing him rolling with Rodney's comment because he's online playing Fortnite with his buddies.
All right, what's next? Come on, answer question.
Anyone got any more questions in the chat? It's a good conversation. But things like that happen all the time. And I understand it. I mean, when I was in my IT career as someone who would choose vendors, I get schmoozed by vendors all the time. I get taken out to lunch or dinner all the time. And, you know, when you buy something, in comes some freebies. I never took that as a kickback per se, in that I didn't feel beholden to anybody, you know, to continue to do business with them. And
Eric says hi.
But I can see how people could. I mean, I didn't, you know.
Man, I've been looking for kickbacks for 30 years. I haven't found any yet.
We had some, I don't really know if you really call it kickbacks, but there's
I've used it once, Sammy. In actual proper use.
Yeah, instead of something like a paperweight or just to chuck it across the shop.
I've used it. Like it came in useful one time.
Really?
Yeah.
For its intended purpose?
Yes.
Wow. One time.
Hmm.
And Daniel says, I'm always taking in the freebies. Well, sure, you'd be silly if you didn't. You know, and depending on what whatever policies are that you're bound to, you might be violating a policy. But if you're not, you know, and in my IT career, I certainly wasn't. You know, you could, you know, a vendor wants to take you out to dinner and have that conversation. Okay, I've gotten tickets to ball games, and I got invited to all kinds of events over the years. But again, I never took that as a bribe of any kind or an expectation that they would get the business. And they knew that. You know, I'm like, great that I'm going. I said, but you know, you're giving these to me without expectation. They're like, no, we get it. Okay, fine, fair enough.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So can I tell the Texas Twister story real quick?
Please. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think I paid. It was less than $100. I had 60. Sounds familiar, but it could have been 80. Right. This is what I paid. It sat on the truck that long. I think I paid $60 or $80 for it. And
was this one of the you name your price tools?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't on Lindsay's truck, but it was. You know.
Oh.
It was on the Matt guy Kyle's. He's been on a live stream before, right? Yeah. Anyways, I bought it from Kyle. And Kyle's like, "Tell me what you want to pay for it." And I'm like, under $100. I think it was. I want to say it was 60, but something in the back of my mind it might be 80. Anyways, say I paid 80 for it, and so one day I was like, "I really need this thing to work," and then when I used it, and I go, "Son of a bitch, it really didn't work." One time, I've used it before where it was like, it didn't work, but it worked. So. Intended use, but it's not the first thing I reach for.
No,
it was.
What is that MSRP?
Oh, come on, $100.
Oh, geez, let me look.
Do they make it anymore, or is that next to the Trevis O2 wrench?
Hey, speaking of Trevis, I actually used my O2 sensor wrench a week ago or so. I'm curious. You
know how that? So I had to. This is what I always thought. You know, if you broke it loose with another wrench and then you just use it to ratchet out, because you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it get kind of sticky coming out. You don't really need a full blast. I think that thing would have worked great, but I think a lot of people were trying to break everything loose and then it was snapping on them. And I get it. You know, you pay that kind of money. It's you want it to be able to.
It was
work
$110,
like
$105 because I pre-ordered it. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely was expensive. Do you know if Maryland, is that considered the Rust Belt? God bless you.
Yeah, kind of. I know this for a fact. There's a car at the shop from Maryland. It's got a little service rust on it.
Because you've seen him in chats before, but Scuba Stevo, OG Scuba Stevo.
Yeah.
I had paid for one, and then Justin Dow, I don't know where he got his, maybe it was sent to him, but he said, I don't want this. You want it? I said, I already have one. He's like, oh, we'll give it to someone. So I sent it to Stevo. So I don't know. He's in Maryland. His shop's in Maryland. He owns a shop in Maryland. So maybe he breaks stuff. Well, maybe it busted him and he didn't. If it broke on him, and he tell me, I don't care. But I would be curious to see how it held up for him.
I think just the rashing portion of it would have been, like you've done this before, where you've broken stuff loose with one tool and then used another tool to back it the rest of the way out. So
yeah, like you said,
I think that would work. Like when you're working on expeditions, the hardest, exhaust to take out, that'd be the perfect place to use it.
Yeah, I know that I put it in a video changing the upstream Mo2 sensor on my S10, and that one's not the easiest spot to get to. But like I said, I'm in California; it wasn't rusted. But yeah. I think I showed a couple of options trying to get tools on there that was fighting me a little bit, and then because that thing had a flex head, I was able to get it on there, and it broke it free. Tarek's got a question. He says, I heard that Mobile Tool Network is/did close. Any truth to that?
I'm looking that up right now to see if the website's still up. I just logged in. I'm using my account, so they are still in business. I did get a promotional text message from them today. They'll send out like salesy things every couple times a week. They are still in business, but the rumor on the street is that they may not be for much longer. But I don't know what that looks like. I do know that some exclusive arrangements they had with some suppliers, like what's their faces? We were talking about them earlier. Who were they?
Grip Edge.
Yeah, with Grip Edge, no longer exclusive. I can get Grip Edge now from ISN is my biggest supplier. So I see that changing a little bit. I don't know what that means for Mobile Tool Network.
I bet you that means a lot for them because that was probably their ace in the hole.
Yeah,
a lot of people wanted to try that if that was the only place they can get it from.
Yeah, and no, it's fine. They're still in business because I can still log into their website. Although I never shopped, I never bought anything from them.
I watched Clay Kuhn's video on the Macro truck today, and he never said he worked for Mobile Tool Network. I think he was involved, but he never said he worked for him. But in the video today, they were showing those new Macro version of those Grip Edge sockets.
Yeah,
and he was talking about them, and Clay used, and I believe I'm quoting, and I have to watch again, but I'm pretty sure I heard him say, "I work for Vim Tools." So
he is doing some stuff with Vim. I don't know if he's an employee or what the arrangement is, but he is now. I've seen him on their YouTube channel.
I have to
tool reviews and stuff. So I don't know exactly what his level of involvement is. And I don't know how big a company Vim is. I suspect they're on the smaller side of a major player. But they seem to be doing pretty well for themselves. And guys like Clay a lot. So I'm guessing they're going to gravitate toward him.
Moderator.
Now back to the... Oh, let me show you this.
Lindsay, I can't use my moderator status right now. You might want to hop in.
I'm in I could turn my phone. I don't even know. Am I blue ranched?
Or a moderator needs to hop on that one.
Thank you for pointing that out.
There, someone got it.
Look, I'm the only one that can use vulgarity in this thing. Know your role.
Let me show you. We were talking about this a moment
I don't
ago.
need any competition on the vulgar award. I'm leading it.
Leading
it because
all right, so look at this. This is, I guess there's different size kits of the Texas Twister, and
that looks like what I got.
The MSRP on this one is $346.
Cool, I got a deal.
And I don't know if yours came with all those casts or not. I think they have a smaller version of that.
No, I got all of that.
Okay.
I know one other person. I want to say it was the Mad Brooker. I think Brooke said she had that tool.
Oh, it definitely didn't work up there in Maine.
And Tarek said that Clay did say on the live stream that he took a position at Vim. Okay, good for him. Yeah, he's pretty highly regarded. I think it's good for Vim to bring on someone like him who's got a lot of credibility. He's been around for a while too.
Make your money where you can, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I don't know what his position is, if he's just like doing like tool demos, or maybe he's going to some of their tool shows and dealing with some of the vendors. I don't know, but I'm sure he's good at it. He's got a good personality.
A couple of years ago, he called me up and I couldn't go. It was really last minute. He had, I guess, he told me, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to be at SEMA." He's like, "I know you're not too far away." He's like, "Pick any day of the week you want to show up." He's like, I got your pass." And I'm like, "Dude, I kind of last minute. I really can't make it, but I would have loved to have gone and hung out with him for a day and done some what do you call it, collaboration videos with them."
That would have been cool.
Now, I don't know how this worked, but about 3, 6, 8, 9, whatever I said, or you guys saw if I ever did a video saying I got some grip edge sockets, about a week or 2, 3 before I got those sockets, he text messaged me. He said, "Hey, so grip edge is doing a promotion. He's like, you should enter." And I hadn't done Instagram, how they say like, comment, share, and put someone else's name in and will enter you. I haven't done one of those probably 3 years. And he told me to. I said, why not? I'll give it a shot, since he mentioned it. And then I got those grip edge sockets. That's how I got the grip edge sockets. So now I'm wondering. I wonder if I had it in the bag all along. All I had to do was
juiced in.
So is that you?
I've got the little demo tool that they show how to use I think it's the 13 that they're using on there, taking off the strip sockets or strip fasteners. There might be a T15, T30. I don't know what they use, but the new cornwall guy in my area had an extra one. He's like, "Hey, you want this? You can do a video on it." And I don't know how long ago that was, but I was going through one of my toolboxes and I saw it just there in a box. I'm like, "What's in here?" And I opened it up. I said, "Oh crap!" Because it said Vim Tools. I'm like, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, I completely forgot I had this demo tool."
Yeah, I haven't done that with coil tools yet. We're doing tools. No, that's not true. I shouldn't knock this one.
All right.
Well, if Clay focuses on the social media stuff, he's rather successful at that. He's just done a very good job of building his YouTube channel, and
he's got Lindsay. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Lindsay, why haven't you had Clay on a live stream? Turn you down.
I didn't want to ask him because I didn't want to big time him.
You don't want to big time? Maybe the spotlight was too bright over here. Oh, this is what I do. I do this all the time. I constantly bust these balls all the time.
I think that one went over my head. What was the funny part?
I go, "Hey, why hadn't Clay been on your live stream?"
Oh.
I'd love to. And I never asked. I don't know. Maybe if I asked, you'd say yes. I don't know.
Jude needs to do another tool guy live stream.
Oh, I didn't see him.
That was a good stream.
That was the most viewers I ever had at one. I think I had somewhere 70 or 80 people at one. When you look at your analytics and it shows, I was averaging like 70 for the whole stream, which for me was great because I usually lucky if I carry 25 or 30.
Yeah.
In this life, you have been useless.
That was a good lineup that night. A lot of personalities.
Yeah, I had
That was good.
two independents,
Yep.
two snap-ons, and two cornwells, right? Is that what it was?
I think so.
Yeah, because
it was Levi, Gabe.
Those were the Cornwell, and Roscoe
was on there.
Yeah, with Pat.
Yeah.
He was on there.
Nick and Lindsay, right?
Nick and Lindsay, yeah.
Yeah. I think I was there too, but I was just there to
the kids that I'm fighting.
I think I had you and Ed on because I was kind of nervous and not sure how that was going to work out, and I needed personalities on there with me, to help.
I know you've done it. You just don't know you.
You got plenty of personalities that night.
That was pretty cool, though. I talked to Gabe the other day. He said he's doing well, and he said it's a way slower pace in Utah than it is in SoCal. But he says he's doing well because a lot of the shops that he was at, they were like, "Oh my gosh, a dealer!" Not just like Cornwall that they hadn't seen in a long time, but a dealer. Period.
Yep.
Well, he's got Instagram his picture of his house, and his house is NTS, not too shabby.
Yeah, did he have his?
I read stuff on the subreddit. Was that?
I was just asking if his group. I don't think his garage up yet because his shop's going to be killer, dude. He showed me the blueprints for it. Oof. What were you saying, Lindsay?
Yeah. Oh, I was reading a subreddit on tools earlier today, and a younger guy who's fairly new to turning wrenches, posted a comment about a Snap-on corporate guy came around to their shop. He says, "Our shop's in the middle of nowhere," and he said they were going to get a truck coming around. He said, "We've never had a Snap-on truck here," and he was talking to other guys in the shop who were telling him what tool truck life was like for a technician. He says, "I don't know what to do." He says, So his question was to everyone, should I be getting in on this? Should I be going in debt on tools? And it was very interesting to see all the replies he had. But what surprised me was nobody replied that if you're in the middle of nowhere, the odds of that guy coming around for very long is pretty low. And
I got it.
And he may find as a tool guy that it's not worth the trip if he's got to burn a lot of fuel to get out there and spend a lot of time. He may not do it after very long, even if there are a few guys that have accounts in the truck. He's probably not going to make it worth his while selling sockets and wrenches. He's probably going to be pushing toolboxes and scanners. That would be my guess in order to make it worth his while. But where your shop is matters. It's so when the pace is a bit slower, it can adjust that way too for Gabe. Like you can ratchet stuff back as a tool guy, and he can still do fine if business is a bit slower in one location or another, or from one week to another. Because just because you're not making the sales doesn't mean it's all bad. Because it also means that you're not buying the inventory to make the sales and then putting stuff out on credit. Because that's what really can hurt you in this business. If you buy so much stuff on credit, you buy so much stuff and have to sell it on credit, you got to pay that bill you're supplying in 30 days. But these guys are paying $50 a week for, however long. Their payments are drawn out farther than when your bill comes due. So you have to be good about juggling that. And that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I trip out on these guys who think they can buy, $300 worth of tools and do a $50 payment a week, and think it's the same if they buy $2,000 worth of tools and they still want to do $50 a week. I said, dude, are you kidding? Well, you're going to drown your dealer, man.
And some deals will let it happen. I mean, I scared away a guy, and I'm glad I did because I'd rather not get the business. Bad business is worse than no business in the tool field. And a guy was asking me about buying a 1-inch Milwaukee Impact, and I priced it out for him. I said, if you want to go ahead with this, I said, I have to structure it a certain way. And here's the way it's got to be structured. You need to give me 20% down, non-refundable, period. That way, if you back out of the deal, I'm still covered for, returning it and paying restocking fees and paying shipping. I said, and then you got to pay, I forget, I think his payments would have come down to $100 a week. I said, and you can't miss it. This can't be the casual, oh man, can I catch next week kind of account. This is $100 every week without fail. And I explained why. I said, because it's expensive for me. I got to pay my supplier in 30 days. But if you're paying $100 a week on this, then you're going to be paying me for 10 weeks. So, I'm out all the money before you even cover my costs on this. And he said, okay, so I got to think about it. I'm like, great. Let me know if you want to do it. If he doesn't want to do it, I am fine with that, because deals like this are expensive for the dealer and they take away my available credit for other customers and buying more inventory. So you make too many deals like that, you can't afford to stock your truck until those deals get paid off. So it's always this balancing that you got to play. It's not easy.
You're on mute, Jude.
I tell people all the time, you got to think about your dealer, man.
Yeah.
You're paying interest free, over 8-10 weeks or whatever. He paid for that tool when he bought it.
Yeah.
And he's floating you. He's the creditor, but he's not getting any interest. He's only getting. That's why I hate lingering on payments, man. I try to get. I usually do always carry a balance, not a super high balance, but and I'll always pay. Where if I didn't buy nothing for 2 or 3 weeks, my balances would all be paid off.
Yeah. My favorite customers are the guys that will. I got one guy who he's $50 a week, no matter what, right? $50 a week. He might run up a $300 balance. I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks go by. He gets a lot of that paid down and always check his balance. So I'll tell him what it is. He goes, okay, good. I can buy something else now. So he'll buy another 100 or 2 worth of something, right? So he runs it back up to $300 or $400, paying us $50 a week. His payment always goes through. He never misses a payment. His card never gets stolen. He's always reliable, and he's very good about managing his debt obligation because he doesn't want to get too far over his head. And I feel really good with guys like that because if everyone could be that disciplined with their money, first of all they'd just be living better lives themselves anyway. But from the guilty or the selfish tool guy perspective, you feel kind of guilty and say, man, I wish everyone was like that. I'll use Cass as an example too. So Cass asked me the other day about buying something. He says, and just run my card for it. Great. This is your dream as a tool guy. Order something, run the card, paid for, done. When it comes in, it's yours.
Yeah,
easy.
I don't like payments. I just like the one-time deal.
Yeah.
Usually it's cheaper too.
Oh yeah.
You got to pay it out, and you always get the buy it now price. It's always a lot cheaper. It's not like eBay. The buy it now price. You're like, I'd rather just wait out and make the gamble here on the old bids.
Yeah.
So how many times you get the old my dog ate my homework excuses as the tool guy collecting payments?
I got one guy.
I mean, like when you hear the excuses, you're like, this is bullshit. Like I automatically know it's bullshit. You're like, you ever like catch yourself like almost going like, bullshit, Junior. Come on, tell me the truth. You don't have money. Just tell me the truth.
I don't say that to guys too, because when I'm pretty sure they're never going to pay, it doesn't matter what I say. It's not like I'm ruining a relationship, but it's already destroyed. But I got one guy. He bought $160 worth of stuff in December. made his first payment when he took it off the truck, and that was it. And then every week after that, it was always, oh man, I didn't see you. Oh, my car got stolen. Rent is due this week. Those are the first 3 excuses. And then it was, I got reassigned because he worked for the city. I got reassigned, and they screwed up my paycheck. Okay. And then the next week it was my pension. They screwed up my pension account. So I can't pay you. Can you wait? I'm like, and I was like, dude, just give the tools back. Well, I don't have I don't have them anymore. You didn't own them. They weren't yours to sell. They were mine. Oh man, why do you got to be like that? And then they try to turn it around and make me feel guilty because I don't have compassion, right? And I can't. Oh man, but I'm going through a tough time right now. Why can't you understand? I'm having problems. And they don't.
They don't consider your life though.
You
might be going through the same thing.
They don't. I get it, man. But when your problems become my problems because I'm having trouble paying my bills, or I'm just sick and tired of getting ripped off by somebody, that's got to be something you take seriously. And then I kind of gave up on him because it wasn't a whole lot of money. It's like $140, $120 or something. So I will every now and then get a text from him. Oh man, just want to let you know that I'm working on getting a new job. So I can pay you in 2 weeks. Whatever. 2 weeks comes and goes, he doesn't pay me. And then he sent me another email. Man, I had blood clots in my lungs. And I'm like, at what point, when are you going to pull out the blind three-legged dog got hit by a truck excuse, and I have to come up with a big vet bill? And then, it's just one bizarre excuse after another.
Where you're like,
that for the last 6 months, you couldn't pay $140.
I'll let you keep the $120 if you just stop contacting me. I'm tired of hearing your bullshit excuses to stop fucking talking.
I know I've reposted one.
It's just one thing before. People, you go and you help people out, and they never pay you, and then they want you to do more work, and you're like, no. And then they're like, they give you every stupid excuse under the sun, and you're just like, no. I tell you what, you're never going to pay me. You owe me too much money. How about this? How about you just never talk to me again, and we'll call you.
I got one customer he's owed me a few $100s now for a while. His original payment, he reneged on his original payment plan. My son had to go to the hospital. I had to travel up to Dallas. I lost my card. You hear every excuse every other week as to why he can't pay. And, at some point, those excuses just run their course. And, I know I've got nothing to lose because I'm already written it off. So I'm like, dude, don't lie to me. Just tell me you're not going to pay me. It would hurt less, if you just told me flat out. But this guy in particular, he's no, man, I'm going to pay you. All right. Well, he'll make a payment. And then his card won't work the following week. Hey, man, the card doesn't work. Oh, yeah, I got a new card. Here, run this one. I run that one. Hey, man, the card doesn't work. Oh, I forgot to transfer money. Hold on, transfer money. Right. So it takes another few weeks to get a payment. And then he has the audacity to say, hey, man, you ever coming back to the shop? No, I'm not. First of all, I can't afford the gas to get there if you don't make your payments.
I know what you're talking about.
Right. I can't afford it. It's not like
I know where and who. if you want to know more, I'm accepting super chats right now. You just the price is right. I'll start diving people out.
Here comes $5 from Sammy.
And you know what? Who is it? Lindsay didn't have to tell me because I heard this from somebody else.
Oh,
you're not the only guy.
It happens. Luckily, I'm lucky that it's a lower percentage for me than it is. Hey, Brian Stewart, good to see you.
Brian Stewart, what's up, man?
You gave us the old electric company. Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys. You see these guys coming sometimes. Sometimes you don't see them coming. But my loss is less than the industry average, so I really can't complain about how much it costs me over time. It's just a pain that it costs you anything at all, because you enter these agreements on a handshake in good faith, and sometimes it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, no, you get that too. That's my least favorite part of business is when people tell you to do something and they don't have the money to pay for it. They expect you to help them out, and it sucks. It's a terrible feeling. I mean, like that's why I could never sell tools, because my filter is so low that I'd hear these excuses. I'm like, all right, this is a bullshit excuse. Tell me the real reason. You spent the money, right? Like, I feel like Joe Pesci in Casino, whenever he's talking to the dealer, he's like, tell me you don't have the money. Tell me you spent the money. Tell me you gambled the money. Like, don't give me a bullshit excuse. Tell me the truth.
Right.
And I get that. When you tell guys, all right, fine, you can't pay for it, give me the tools back. Oh, well, really? So you can't pay me and you can't return my tools? You're just going to rip me off?
Yeah,
no,
last time I checked,
I'm going to pay you. No, you're not. No, you are not going to pay me. I know that.
Music to hype me up, bro.
No, Brian, I would be a terrible debt collector because I'm big enough they could probably see me coming. You know what I mean? They'd be like, "Oh, there he comes, gotta go." It's like flipping on the light and the roaches start running around. They're like, fee, fi, fo, fum. Yeah.
And I know you've got the customers, like you just said, my dog's pregnant or whatever.
Yeah.
What about the shop owners that are like that? You get many of them?
No. I can't think of one offhand that's ever been like that. Can I? No, I really can't. Usually the shop owners are the ones that, if I had to choose dealing with technicians or shop owners, I'll do it to shop owners. Because they run a business. They know what it's like. And they understand having to pay for things. And no, that's a big lie. There's one shop owner who's a dirtbag, and Cass knows who he is because he used to work for him. Other than that, no, all the shop owners I've dealt with have been very good. This one guy is not very good, and he's a terrible reputation. No one likes him.
You ever have a shop
and he's
owner?
Short. He's got to look up to everybody. You know why he's so angry? Is because he's got to look up to everybody.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's the only shop owner I've had a problem with.
Where the hell are you?
You ever have a shop owner or a foreman maybe go onto the truck and say, "Hey, does so and so owe you any money? Because if he does, you might want to collect in the next couple of weeks."
There's a few like that, and I really do appreciate that heads up. The problem is it puts me in a very difficult position because they haven't told that guy is getting canned. And what am I going to do? Go up to the guy and say, "Hey, man, you got to pay your balance."
Yeah, you should pay me because you're about to get fired. Oh, by the way.
I can't do that. Right? So, at least tell me if I shouldn't sell him anything else.
Yeah. Don't sell him anything. He's going to right.
And there was one time this guy, and he's a supervisor for Waste Connections. I love this guy because he did me a few solids. One time, a guy bought a cart from me, and he made his first payment, and then he got fired. So then he misses. Well, he was going to get fired. That's what it was. Hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. He bought the cart, made his first payment. His payment did not go through the second week, and then the supervisor says, "Hey, man, we're going to can this guy tomorrow. So you might want to grab your stuff." I'm like, "Thank you. Yes, I will." So because he missed his payment, by rights, I can repo the cart, even though it's one payment. You wouldn't normally do a repo for one missed payment, but I have every right to because, hey,
he's going to see him again. Yeah.
I'm never going to see him again, right? So I wheel the cart out of my truck, and I sent him, and I just had to wait a day until he got the news from his employer. And then I sent him a message like, "Hey, man, I got my cart. I got to give you your tools back. Just let me know how to get them to you. I'll ship them to you at my cost. I don't care." But this guy was so angry at me. He blew up my phone. And then when he says, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I own the cart." He goes, "No, you don't." I'm like, "Really?" I said, "You missed the payment." But. I'm like, "Dude, I've got the cart. I'm going to give you your tools." I said, I have no intention of keeping anything you own and have paid for. So what do you want me to do with them? Just put them in a box and leave them with so-and-so. All right. So that's what I did. Was that Sammy asked if that was the ammo cart? No, it was a different cart. One night, I had this. Was that a Mako Jamestown cart, Sammy? If I remember right. So one night I had this really nice Mako cart on the truck, and Sammy jumps on and we're chatting like we do, and he's standing up against the cart with his back up against it, and he said, "I'm looking for a cart that I could use to store ammo in." I said, "Like the one you're leaning on?" He turns and goes, "Yeah." "How much?" We worked out a price to roll the thing off the truck for him. Yeah, that was the Jamestown cart from Mako. That was a black one. It's a really nice cart. So yeah, he uses it for his ammo storage.
You're due for some carts there, Lindsay.
I haven't had a cart or a box on the truck in a long time.
Yeah, ever since the giveaway, I think. Well, no, that's not true. That cart I sold them. Yeah. Probably should have sent the Jude.
But that was the last full size box I've had. That was a couple of years ago.
I'm thinking about trading mine in, man, to upsize it a little bit.
Yeah.
To go bigger than what I got, it's just so much. It's expensive.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go any bigger on my roll cart because it's just too heavy. My cart already weighs too much. I don't want to roll. You know what I mean? Like it's just whenever you're steering it through the shop. We have a big shop, but it's still got a lot of stuff in there. So not to brag.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. My cart, because it's mobile and what I roll around and use the most. I mean, it's freaking heavy because I got a lot of stuff in it all packed up. I just like to spread some, not necessarily put more stuff in it, but spread some stuff out a little bit.
Yeah.
Now I leave it the ability to add stuff to the cart when I'm working on certain jobs and take stuff out of the cart. Like perfect example, like SAE. I have a bunch of SAE stuff in the cart, but if I'm working on something, I have room. I have like a way I can put the stuff in there so I can use it like it's belongs in the cart, like on a normal basis. And then whenever I'm done with the job, I take it out. So
I did not die down there. How did I get down there?
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, that's a good idea though. If I need,
we'll have to do a video on that, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we should.
I haven't been on a Coil Tools video in a while. Live
It's been
stream
too
yes,
long.
video. No.
Go to the Blue Mart.
Some of my most successful videos have you in them.
You guys.
Some of my most successful videos are yours.
I still wish I'd have got to see that video of Cass putting his tools in the monster tool.
That would have been so good. Yeah. Yeah.
I would have done it too. It would have taken us probably about 10 hours to do it, but
Probably.
it would have been worth it doing that.
How long did
No
it
one had
take
to buy
you
the box.
to do the toolbox tours in the ice rain?
Oh my god, like 8 hours. We almost froze to death in the fucking shop.
That was,
it was
such
terrible.
oh my god. That was brutal.
But the interview took a long time too, though. When we sat down and we chopped it up, we did all that in the same day. This shop would have been a lot better for it. Not only would it have been more quiet, it would have been warmer. When shit, we could have done it in the office too. Just set up there at the counter and had it facing back at us.
No, why not? No, we still can. We haven't done a shop tour. You know, and you've had that shop up and running for quite a while now.
I tell you what, give me like a couple weeks because I got something coming that might sweeten it up a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Oh no, I'm excited. I got something.
I'll tell you on the back stream. I'm not gonna say it in the.
It's a teaser for a future video.
I'll say a teaser.
Oh, Brian's got a good story. He is a Snap-on guy. Before he quit, sat down outside the bathroom for 2 hours to wait for a guy. He literally bought a fold-up chair and waited for him.
Oh man.
Oh man.
I'd have loved to have been there.
Longest bathroom break in history from the guy who was in there. Oh.
The dude's in there, man. I had a really thick steak for dinner last night.
Oh, we used to have two guys that would at Lloyd's. We had two guys that would sit in the bath. They would go in the bathroom, and I don't know if they'd like take naps or if they'd just go in there and play on their phone or whatever they're doing. But they'd be in there for hours on hours on hours throughout the day. And Lloyd would go and beat on the door, like, "Come on, time to be done." I was just like, "How about this? Just don't pay them. Like, make them clock out to go take a shit. You know, like." I bet you if they had a clock out, they would be faster about it.
You guys heard about I don't know, there's some kind of paint that I heard some shop owners are painting the bathrooms with, so that way it blocks the cell signal, so you can't be on the toilet on your cell phone.
That would be awesome.
I don't know. Yeah, there was a guy one time, his sound bar, you could hear him playing Candy Crush while he was taking his shit. So his phone was so connected to the sound bar, and he's over there playing Candy Crush. And I'm like, that sounds familiar. What is that? Ah, that's Candy Crush. Oh, you should have. The time he was watching porn on his phone, it was even better. I was like, yes. Yeah. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, that guy needed to man up instead of just hiding. Yeah. But oh man, I've got some great stories from Mike Shine about that, where he'd go and beat on the door, and he goes, "Since you're too much of a pussy to come out and face me man to man, I guess I'll have to wait here for you." And then the guy will come up with his hands in his pockets. Sorry, like, just give me my shit. You don't owe me anything anymore. We'll be done.
Yeah, let's square it up, but you got to give my stuff back. And to me, that seems like if I were in that position and somebody said to me, "Fine, take it," right? I can't see fighting to hang on to the stuff that I didn't buy. That makes no sense to me.
Here's my deal. I'm of the opinion, and I'm sure Jude is too. If I couldn't afford something, I would be talking to you before it ever became a problem. Like, hey, look, this is an issue. hey, what do I need to do? Do I need to give you stuff back now? Like, how do I need to make this right? Do I need to what do I need to do to make this, like, be proactive with this. Don't be reactive with this. But, the guys that do this, they're going to do this from word go because they don't know any better. This is what they do. And this is the world they live in. They don't mind doing this because that portion of humility is gone.
And they know there's not much of a consequence. I've given guys a graceful out. I said, look, give me the stuff back. I'll hang on to it for 30 days. If you can pay the balance in the next 30 days, it's yours. If not, it's mine. And the guys are like, okay. Of course, they never pay. So it's just a way. It's more of a gentler way of doing repossession.
Watch, get in.
Or I'll tell guys, just give the stuff back. That way I don't have to look like an asshole going in saying. But every now and then there's one guy who just wouldn't do it. And I finally went into the shop once, and in front of his coworkers, I said, man up, buddy. I said, I got to take your stuff back today. Come on. I said, we're going to walk over to the box right now. I got to get it. And on the walk over to his box, he's like, man, why do you have to do me like that in front of the other guys? I'm like, what?
Why did you do me like that?
Like this, not paying.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, no, these are my tools. I said, no. They are my tools. You haven't paid for them yet. And you're not going to. So I need them back.
I don't think I've ever worked with anybody that did they got their shit repossessed other than
I forgot.
I think the AC machine that I tried to have you sell for Nick, I think that ended up getting Snap-on came picked it up because you're like, hey, he still owes money on it.
Yeah.
So to kind of connect the dots on the story, the guy that used to work with us, he was doing his own thing and he bought a bunch of stuff from Snap-on. He had like a heavy duty scanner, AC machine, some other stuff. And he was doing well for a while. Then his life kind of fell apart. And so he tried to sell all his stuff. And he had basically asked me to help him sell his stuff. So I was like, well, hey, I'll tell you what, I'll talk to Lindsay about it. If it works out, Lindsay will sell it and then he can give you some money. Well, it turns out I didn't know he owed money on any of this stuff. So Lindsay goes, hey, he actually owes money on all of this stuff, the way that Snap-on credit works. And I went and told him, I'm like, hey, man, you need to go talk to our old Snap-on guy. And so our old Snap-on guy was reluctant about taking the stuff back, but somehow he got Snap-on to buy the AC machine back because he asked Travis and I if we wanted to buy it. And I was like, not a chance. I don't want to buy this thing. It's too slow. And then the heavy duty scanner, I'm not working on medium duty stuff, medium duty or heavy duty stuff. Like, no. And so he ended up having to do like voluntary repossession through Snap-on, but Snap-on didn't want to do it, and Snap-on Financial didn't want to take his stuff back either.
No.
So I don't know how. Ultimately, I don't know how. And then he's not around anymore to ask. So
yeah, they have some ways of working on the back end. I don't know all the details. Usually, what happens is if you're the tool guy who has sold something on credit to somebody, you're on the hook if the customer defaults on it. In that, you will get that back. It goes back in your inventory. Now you owe your company for some balance on that, whatever that is. And I guess it's fair. I don't know. But the tool guy has some level of responsibility there. Now, whether he can sell it back to the company, I don't know. Like I had an issue once where, to make a very long story short, I wound up with a Mako box on my truck that was the guy still owed on it. Right. So I called Mako Credit and I said, I got this box. What do you want me to do with it?
He's 40 white.
And they said, it was funny when I talked to the lady on the other end of the phone. I said, what would you like me to do? And she goes, we have never gotten this phone call before. usually people in your business just peel the labels off the back, and not. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, this has got to be I said, it's an expensive setup. I said, no, I want to make sure we do the right thing. She goes, okay, let me make some phone calls. She said, do you know any of the Mako guys around you? I said, yeah, it's one guy, Bob Johnson, I'm friends with. She goes, all right, let me call Bob and find out. She calls Bob, calls me back. She says, Bob will take it on his account, right? So Bob will then, in essence, buy it from Mako Credit. Now he'll owe Mako on it, but he's buying for some deep discount because it's a used box. And the upside to me was Bob cut me a $500 check as a repossession fee for Mako. I'm like, you got any more boxes you want me to grab? I'll do this all day. Yeah. So, so I grabbed the box, gave it to Bob. Bob gave me a check, But But yeah,
back in my younger years, back when I was into hot rods and stuff like that, I bought some parts from a guy, and I found out later that the parts were stolen. And so I found out who they were stolen from. So I took the stuff to the guy, and I was like, "Hey, these belong to you. I got them from this guy." And they're like, "Yep." And they go, "What'd you pay for them?" And I told them the truth, and they gave me my money on that.
wow.
And I was like, "You don't have to do that. You know, he owes me the money." They go, "No, he owes us the money." And so,
And
I was like, all right,
Yeah, well-
but yeah, it wasn't a lot of money. It was only like a couple $100, but I was like, that's bad juju taking stolen
really
parts,
is.
and I wasn't going to do that. So because when I found out, I was like, ooh,
And
I gotta get rid of it.
You weren't going to win any races with them parts, man.
No. Hey,
Yeah,
I
in my
got a pew with a story. We can't talk about it on the live stream, but I told Lindsay, I was like, hey, this thing needs to go. And it's
You've
not
done nothing
illegal.
wrong. It's okay.
There's nothing illegal on it, is there?
No, not at all.
Not
But
at all.
There's plenty of guys that will not go forward on the deal if they think there's something's funny with it, and that's what would have been the case with this Matco box. Right? Guys would have asked me about it. Where'd you get it? I would have had to tell them. They're like, I don't know. I'm not gonna,
No.
And I get that. That's why I didn't want to get involved in either, because it can come back on me, and I don't want to be part of that. Someone spent money on this box, and even if it's Matco Corporation, they still deserve it because it's theirs.
The person I got the pew from is like, well, the person who got the pew from the person I got the pew from is extra scumbaggery. And so I told Lindsay, I'm like, hey, this thing's got to go. I told him the story, and he was like, yeah, okay, I can help you out.
Yeah, we'll
but
figure it out.
It's just the name attached to it, and I'm just like, I don't want that in my life. So,
with Brian's situation here, he says he has a shop owner and 2 techs.
I'm gonna get some water. Give me a sec.
Yeah, they vouched for a guy who we sold a $500 Milwaukee set to 4 months ago. The guy reneged on his deal, still hasn't paid $100. But to your credit, Brian, you went to the owner and said it's now your responsibility. If someone's going to put, when you say, hey, I'm vouching for the guy, as far as I am concerned, you're co-signing for the guy's credit line, right? And I'll make sure that they know that. All right, yeah, you say you vouch for him, but that means you're going to put your money where your mouth is if you reneges. And then the guy pushes back and says, well, I didn't mean that. Then what do you mean? You're just telling me he's a good guy? Talk is cheap. If he blows out of here, man, or stops spamming me, I got to get my money somehow. And that's it does suck, Shannon. It's unfortunate, but it happens too regularly in this business.
Let's go.
Hey,
I've
actually helped
people. It's not fun at all, because usually it's full of tools.
Well, and then like if they still work there at the shop, then they have to go and face everybody. I mean, like it's gotta have bitter taste in your mouth. But
it does.
I've actually helped people pay their tool bill before, haven't I? Well,
In
we
fact,
have. I have to say we.
In fact, you have.
I vouched for. Well, it wasn't like just someone I didn't know, but
and that was as a bonus. And that.
Huh? What was that? Oh, did he freeze? No, he's freezing. No, but I was saying that.
For a minute.
It was my godson, but he got a job at the shop, the last shop I was at, and Roscoe would come around, the other trucks would come around, and for Roscoe, to Roscoe, I gave him Roscoe called it the Power Stroke Jude guarantee. Where I said, man, if he doesn't pay, I will cover whatever tool bill he bought the big, CT9080. I mean, he bought some tools. He bought some expensive tools on the truck, and I told him, hey, if he ever, I trust that if something goes wrong, he'll talk to you, and if you're cool with him, you guys will make your arrangement. But if he ever disappears on you, and then I did the same thing because I don't know, probably this is more of a backstage thing but I'll talk to you guys backstage about the other thing. But yeah, but for my godson, I just told him, man, anything, I don't care what his bill is. If he, God forbid, something happens to him, don't worry, Roscoe. And my godson paid his bill. It didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I vouched for him. And I would have too. I would have absolutely. And in fact, when my godson was hurting and he wasn't working because he left the shop, because like I said, told Lindsay, I worked for this guy who was an a-hole. Like, I got the job, but got my godson a job there as well. My godson actually started about a month before I did, and he didn't last much longer after I got there because he couldn't deal with the dude.
Yeah.
But even when he was going through his hard times, he always made his arrangements with Roscoe. And even if it was a smaller payment, he always gave him something. And when he got his income tax or something like that, he just paid him off.
Yeah, in 2019, I had that surgery, and I was going to be out of work for. I think I was out for 6 weeks. I think that's what it ended up being, Lindsay. When it
something like that, yeah.
And basically, I had to go and like figure out what I owed everybody because this is before I started paying for everything all at once, and so I had to go and figure out what I owed everybody. And then I just told Lindsay, I'm like, hey, I need to get it down because I wasn't sure I was going to live, until I got hurt. Like, it was kind of iffy leading up to it, and then I had to wait just with insurance and how all that stuff worked out. And it was kind of iffy, and I just told Lindsay, I'm like, hey, if I was making these real large payments to everybody, and I got it all paid off like really fast. I couldn't believe how much I paid off and how fast I did it. But, and it was good because if I didn't live, they were going to be screwed.
Well, like Shannon says, the guys that don't pay make it difficult for those who do and want credit and want to use it appropriately. And it's true, unfortunately,
I'll be right back.
that you've got to, as a tool guy, you've really got to keep the brakes on in that you don't start getting too cynical. You don't start, getting bitter and start treating everybody as if they're going to rip you off, because you're just going to make people mad and they're not going to do business with you. So unfortunately, it's got to be like getting in a romantic relationship with somebody. You got to love like you've never been hurt, and you have to make deals with people like you've never been ripped off, right? Because what's most people are not going to rip you off. Only a small percentage will, but it's still, those are the ones. I mean, never forget those guys. It's not like you ever see somebody go, "Oh yeah, I forgot you ripped me off for $200." No, they did. You'll always remember that. It happened with a guy got on the truck just a few weeks ago. He was new to the shop, and I'm looking at this guy, and I know I recognize him, but I can't remember where. And he started talking about buying some stuff, and I'm looking at him, and I said, "Why do we know each other?" And he said, "Oh, I used to work down at this shop." I'm like, "That's why." I said, "If I recall," I said, "you couldn't make your payments, and I had to take some tools back from you." And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, how do I know that's not going to happen again this time? I've been working on it real hard. I've been trying to make things right." Like, okay, but it happened once, so shame on you. If I go into a deal with you again and it happens again, I said, shame on me. I said, I see this one coming. I said, I'm happy to sell to you on a cash only basis at a 10% discount, or if you want to put money into a deposit account and use that to buy tools, you can. But I said, other than that, I can't give you credit. No, man, I understand. But those are the conversations you have to have with guys, and you can't feel bad about having them. Because guess what? You're not the first one he's had that conversation with in his life. I promise you that.
That's true.
Because these are the guys that he's not going to get a car loan if he needs a car. He can't be laying his rent, or he's going to have that other conversation with his landlord, or whatever it is, right? You're not the first one to have that conversation. They're used to having the conversation. So as a tool guy, you just got to think, if he goes again with this conversation in his life with somebody else, this time it's me. Yeah, Brian says that lube techs burn him the most. I tend to not want to do business with lube techs because they're not in the same place in their career where they're going to get the value in a tool truck that somebody else will, who's been doing it for a while. And there's no reason for this guy to spend $100 on a ratchet. We can get the same ratchet for $30 somewhere else. At Harbor Freight or whatever.
What do they really need? Other than a socket and ratchet set and few oil filter wrenches and
pretty much it. I mean, and a light maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's they don't need a lot. You can get set up as a lube tech to start making money right away with a very small investment in tools. You're going to have to get the specialty like oil filter wrenches, like the Toyota ones. You know, you're going to come up against those. That's all there is to that. And those are expensive, but you don't have to buy them on the truck. You know, you can buy them somewhere else. And if you got someone in the shop that's willing to lend you tools until you can get that, you know, if it were me in that position, I'd come in with whatever tools I thought I needed to start out with. And then if there were some kind guys in the shop that would lend me tools, my promise to them would be, if I can borrow it until I can buy it, this is my next purchase. Okay, that seems fair. And I think most guys would agree to that, as long as you actually uphold your promise. You know, yeah, I'll borrow that $70 Toyota oil filter cup wrench from you, but I promise within 2 weeks I'm going to buy my own. And you do it, fine, fair enough. Thank you for letting me borrow it. I've got my own now. And if you do that, and guys can see that you're interested in building your own tool collection, then they're going to be more willing to help you out.
Yeah, I don't want to see we have guys come on, or we have a new guy. I don't want to see him on the truck at all.
Right.
He didn't need to be there. And in fact, I said that whenever the last one came on your truck. I go, hey, don't sell him anything on credit. Make sure he pays for everything up front. I said it right in front of him too.
Oh yeah. You know, and that goes a long way.
The whole time.
That goes a long way, because it's when a guy says, "Oh, why can't I get credit?" You said, first of all, your boss just told me not to give you any, and if he's telling me that's for a good reason, I said, second of all, I'll give you a discount. That's not a problem. I said, you'll still get the tool truck level service, but we don't know each other. You don't have credit. You don't have a credit history with me. I can't just give you credit. I had a guy, a couple months ago. I'm glad I saw this one coming a mile away. He gets on the truck, brand new to the shop, and I know this shop has high turnover. So whether or not he's going to be there the next week, I don't know. So he gets on the truck and he wants to buy, I think, like $100 worth of stuff. And he says, can I start an account with you? I said, okay, do you have your ID? Oh, no, I forgot it today. Okay. I said, but I'm going to need, a 30% down payment from you today. So he said, give me $30. Ooh, but I don't have my wallet. I said, okay. So
ID, sorry.
Yeah. I said, is your expectation that having met you just now, that you're going to be able to walk off the truck with $100 worth of stuff, not pay me anything for it, and not prove to me who you are? They said, well, when you put it that way, I said, where else can you go and have somebody give you credit without those two things, making a down payment and proving who you are? Nowhere. No, I guess you're right. So I walked off the truck. I'm like, I just avoided this headache that we've just been talking about trying to chase a guy for money. Why, every week there's a reason why you can't make the payment.
I got a question for you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Do you still go to ProTech?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or whatever it is now. I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, no, I had to think back. Yes.
Are they building a new shop?
Nope.
What is that up in front of? There's a shop being built right at the entrance to where they are. Isn't it?
Dripping Springs Automotive?
Yeah.
No, not that I know of.
I'm coming.
I don't know. Maybe something changed in the last week.
Well, no, this is not a change in a week thing. So.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll point out to you later.
Okay.
But maybe I have my entrances, my area wrong. Which is
they've been talking for a while about expanding the operation and putting another building on the property that they wanted to do some other things with, related to the repair shop. But that's just been, something they've been kind of thinking about. I don't think they made any real plans to do it.
Yeah.
Wait, give me the minis. I'm going to carry the minis. Because I already have one.
What's Brian Stewart's last three comments? He has a little story going on.
So the guy ordered 6S from me for $7,500 plus trade. Gave him 2 months. Never got $1 from him. And the box showed up, and I take it over to show him. He loves it. Still no money. I leave. I talked to his old employer, and I sold the box to another guy. And the guy that ordered it was no longer on my route. So now you're the biggest piece of shit ever. It's amazing how someone will try to have you believe that somehow you're the problem when they're not paying you. It just blows me away.
Almost, no.
It doesn't work that way. That's not the way life goes.
This is like all the reason why I would want to be in your.
He ran off. He actually got away.
12-hour days don't seem that bad whenever at least I can keep their car until I pay the bill.
Correct. With us, unfortunately, we got to do a repo. And like Brian said earlier about he hates doing repos on boxes. One of the biggest problems is that box is full of their tools that you don't have a claim on. So what do? Do you roll your property away knowing that it has their property in it? I mean, I would do that. I don't think that's an issue. I've done it before. And I'll tell guys, like the story I told you that I did the same deal with another guy. Cart had his stuff in it. I just pulled the whole thing from the shop and I sent him a text. I said, hey, I got my cart. I'm going to give you your tools back. Tell me how to get them to you. He's like, oh, no, don't even worry about it. Just keep it. Okay.
No, I think there's still people.
I saw some Snap-on tools in there. At the time, Tim was his Snap-on guy, and I texted Tim, like, hey, I said, any of these tools yours? He goes, yep. He goes, that is that. I'm like, okay, here you go.
So those were my favorite because then you go on the truck and you're like, oh, how much is this gently used? Whatever it is.
Did you tell Tim about Matco's $500 repossession fee? I got some Snap-on tools here, Tim.
No, because Tim actually worked for somebody else. Tim worked for somebody else, and they weren't going to give this. That would have been their money. They would have pocketed that. Like, hey, thanks for helping me out. I'll remember you next time. Lindsay, do you have any more questions for the panel?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much ran the gamut. What time? Oh, man, we're going to 3 hours. Yeah, we should probably wrap this one up. Do you guys have any more questions out in the chat of the panel, or does anyone in the panel have any other discussion points they'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I just I wanted to bring up how it waited so long for the live stream to start. We never really got a full explanation of what happened.
That might take more time than we have.
All right, then that's it.
All right.
We can wait for the any questions?
I know.
Here's one. No, that's a statement.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Brian's got a rule. If he does a repo, get his money back first. All the tools are for sale at a big discount. Yeah. Do what you got to do.
We're good.
I had a guy. He said, man, I had to do repo years ago on a guy. And he actually still worked at the shop. And he said, I was talking to my lawyer, and he wants your contact information. He says, can I have your card?
No, do not.
Like, wow.
It's on the side of the truck. This thing.
Right. I said, and I thought to myself, this is too good an opportunity to pass up. So I took my card, I handed him and said, I cannot wait for this call from your lawyer.
Oh, my God.
And would you believe the call never came?
Whoa.
I bet the lawyer is still waiting.
I was dying to have that conversation.
What do you mean?
We're at the 3 hour mark, folks. So let's wrap it up. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Shannon and Chaka Gillis, thank you so much for your super chats. It really does mean a lot. I appreciate your involvement and being part of the gang here. Great conversation. Brian, of course, it's always great to see you. Glad you were in on everything going on. Tarek, great to see you. Daniel, rolling with Rodney. Who else do we have in here tonight? Sammy Salinas, of course, man. Always great to see you, Sam. I'll catch you during the week of the shop. A lot of great guys. Quick Wrench, thank you so much. Jason Williams, great to have your input in your chat contributions.
Yeah, it was nice seeing a new name. We hadn't seen that. I've never seen him before. That was really cool.
It was really
cool. He was interactive too.
Yeah, Jason's he's been on before.
Oh, has he?
Oh, yeah. He needs to go check out the Power Stroke Jude YouTube channel, though.
So, Power Stroke Jude, check out Tex Talking Shop as well.
Oh, yeah. Man, I feel like I let this down, Jude. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry.
We all are, man. Power Strokes Jude's YouTube channel had a live stream yesterday that was the first time there was anything put on his channel in like 3 months.
Sorry, wow. I haven't put anything on my channel in probably a year. So I don't even know why I have it anymore. I'm just like, it's there.
But I am going to try to start doing something. I keep saying that, but I just got to get motivated. But I have been putting a few things up on Tech Talking Shop. So go check out Tech Talking Shop.
Please do. All right, Cass. Hang on. Let me figure out how this stupid thing works. Hold on.
No, it's all right. You don't have to make me big. I'm already big enough.
No, there you go.
Oh, no.
Take us
I
out.
see the gray hair now. Golly. I'm looking terrible these days. All right. Thank you for everybody for coming by and putting up with our shenanigans. And I'll try to keep the vulgarities to a maximum next time.
Jude.
Oh, everybody, thank you. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us for 3 hours. Chaka and Shannon, it's awesome. Appreciate you guys for the supers. And, you know,
we're not gonna fight.
See you guys next time.
Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry for the delay in starting this whole thing, but now that I figured out my technical issues, that won't happen again. Chaka and Shannon, thank you again for the super chats. Everybody, thank you so much for being active participants in the chat. It's great to see everyone and have you all in on the conversation. And we'll do these live streams again. We're trying to schedule them monthly, and we'll pick a topic and just go at it for a few hours. And great to have everyone weighing in. So thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody's contributions, and we'll see you all on the next one.
So we're good.
Night, everyone.